Mic test, 1, 2, 3. 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 Mic test, 1, 2, 3.
Madam
Good
Chair,
afternoon, good
Madam
evening.
Chair, if I may,
Welcome to our work session, board work session.
Madam Chair, if I may, before we get started, it's okay. In honor of National Women's Day, I'd like to thank all the grandmothers, the great grandmothers and the mothers, and my colleague women that are here. Thank you for being such wonderful parents, teachers, little girls that are gonna eventually one day become our future leaders of this world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mancha. That was so sweet of you. Thank you. So one more time, welcome everybody to a work session of the Board of Harlandale ISD. This is Wednesday, March 8th, 2023. It is 6:16, and I'm going to do roll call of our meeting. Mrs. Ortiz? Here. Mr. Luna?
Here.
Mr. Moreno?
Present, ma'am.
Mr. Mancha?
President,
Ms. Limon? Here. And myself, I am here. Ms. Carrillo will not be in attendance this evening. We do have a quorum that places us with agenda item 1C. Mr. Soto, would you let us know who's here from cabinet and staff, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, Board of Trustees, HISD family, this evening, we have our Assistant Superintendent for Business and Finance, Mr. Richard Hernandez.
here.
We have our Executive Director of Operations, Dr. Hinojosa.
Here.
We have our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, Ms. Casey,
Here.
and we have our Public Information Officer, Ms. Vieira.
Here. Thank you, Mr. Soto. Thank you so much. We also have Dr. Judy Castleberry with us here this evening. Hello, Dr. Castleberry.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item 2, public comment. There are some community members that signed up for public comment. Before I call those that registered for public comment, I want to read our policy. Each registrant will be invited to speak. Each person must be available to speak when asked or will lose their opportunity to address the board. 3-minute maximum per speaker is allowed. Citizens are offered an opportunity to address the board without prior approval. The board president will have the discretion to reduce the time allotment and limit the total number of speakers in order to ensure that the meeting is orderly and managed within technology capabilities. We will not reduce the minutes. Everybody that registered to vote, to speak will have 3 minutes to speak. The board will not comment or engage in discussion. Presentations shall be informative only. No board action will be taken. Presentation shall not include statements which may be considered defamatory, inflammatory, and/or threatening against a person or the district. All speakers shall not mention student names unless naming their own child, nor address a complaint against a district employee or officer. Such complaints will be handled through the guidelines set out in the district policy. All other times, members of the public shall not enter into any discussion or debate on matters being considered by the board. The board shall not tolerate disruption of the meeting by members of the audience. If after at least one warning from the presiding officer, any individual continues to disrupt the meeting by his or her words or actions, the presiding officer may request assistance from law enforcement officials to have that individual removed from the meeting. In saying those words, I am confident that as a family, we are gathering to have an open line of communication. Because we are a family, we're going to be respectful and professional of each other and of our time here. I am happy to see so many gathered in our meetings. We will begin public comment with the first person that registered from our community, and that is Ms. Mari Cruz Martinez. Ms. Martinez? Hello,
Good
Ms.
evening.
Martinez.
Hi.
Before we move on with your public comment, there is a timer on the screen, and that is to guide you on your 3 minutes.
Thank you.
We're ready whenever you are, ma'am.
Good evening. Here we are at a very difficult time in our district. Those affected by the news of major changes coming to our campus and our livelihood are going through many emotions. I never thought Vestal would be on that list. After going over the board book numbers, I realized and understood. Logistically, keeping schools open at half capacity without doing anything will bring harder decisions in the future, like the state coming in and not giving us choices. I do not like having to think about these changes, but my business brain understands something needs to change. What about our students and their families? I thought, plan B, what if as long as we are kept as a family unit, students and teachers? I shared it with colleagues and they said, that sounds a bit better. Then at the first town hall meeting, a few parents were upset and I shared that with them and they said, we definitely need to stay together. My business brain was still not at rest. So on the weekend, I drove to all 3 campuses, Rayburn, Carroll Bell, and Vestal, and realized many things. Long story short, Vestal is not at any congested intersection. Vestal has room for growth since we have undeveloped land. Vestal has a second gym and 2 empty school buildings. HISD, being in partnership with Avance, is renovating 1 building for 6 months to 2-year-old children. That still leaves 1 empty building. Avance classrooms have safety windows in place, and just about 3 weeks ago, Avance installed bulletproof door protection for our front doors, paid for by Avance for the safety of our students and school. Our Avance classrooms are in compliance with state licensing already. We have room to grow, space for classrooms, and more. Our district is like no other. We need the best customer service and a great team to recruit all year round and recruit all grades, not just pre-K. And when pre-K registers, families need to know ASAP if they have a spot in our schools. We lose many because they are not called, they are called too late, or told you are on a waiting list. A waiting list? So are we short students or not? Parents leave to surrounding schools and charters that are all around us. We're surrounded by charters and choices. When they don't hear from our district immediately, or at least within a reasonable time, and they do not return. And so hence where we're at, lacking students. We are currently going to go through changes, but we cannot lose our essence. We are a community that comes together for what is best for our students and our community. At this time, consolidating schools with half enrollment and not leaving empty buildings where charters can move in and take over makes sense. But please consider what will truly work best for our district and those affected. And tonight, it's great to see so many families and their students here, but we need to please remember to model for them and remember the things we say and the things we do
Ms. Martinez, that is your
are
3
affecting them.
minutes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you signing up for public comment. Our second community member that signed up for public comment is our Constable Ruben Tejeda. Constable Tejeda? Hello, sir. Welcome. Just as a reminder, you do have your 3 minutes on the screen to
Yes.
give you some guidance, and we're ready whenever you are, sir.
Ready. I'm here as the constable and also as an ex-parent. Both my sons are teachers. I'm very concerned of what's going on right now. And I spoke to 2 state reps today, and I'm trying to convince them that the process that y'all have for truancy is not working. So I'm trying to get as much information from everybody to try to get some of the students back in school. And I think that's a big factor to you. We need to probably brainstorm, or I need to know what your process is and why it's taking so long for the city of San Antonio to do anything about truancy. And I think that's one thing that you can start as of now. My office is open to any school board member that wants to come and discuss this. My sons attended Morrill. I attended Columbia Heights. So it's very important to us. And I don't know if it is the answer that you need by closing schools. I don't know if that's the right thing to do now, but many people are asking why this wasn't told to them earlier, maybe years ago, because the decline didn't just happen in the last couple of years. And I know a factor was the truancy, because Harlandale was a model school. They were, I think, 96, 97 attendance. Many of the schools were blue ribbon schools. So I don't know what happened. But the thing is I'm here to help. We need to solve it. I'm going to contact our senator. I'm going to see if they can probably come up with some funding of some kind. That's what we need right now, the funding. We need to find out who's missing, why did the kids leave, and all that. But we need to figure out another way. I'm not for the closing. I'm with the people, because it's very, very, because I've gone through things like the change of Columbia Heights at one time, and it's very difficult and hard on the community. So I would ask if they could postpone, and I'm here to help in any way. If we have to campaign and block walk or whatever we have to do to get these kids back in school, let's go do it. But there has to be other ways than just closing the schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Constable Tejeda. Thank you, Constable Tejeda. We truly appreciate you signing up for public comment, and we hear the words that you want us to hear. Thank you so much, sir. Next community member that signed up is Allison Carganen. I am so sorry if I mispronounce. Educate me on how you pronounce your last name. Kerrigan. Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Kerrigan. And as a friendly reminder, you'll have your 3-minute timer on the screen to guide you. And we're ready whenever you are, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Allison Kerrigan, and I teach music at Morrill Elementary. I direct a choir of over 45 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. If Morrill was to be repurposed, our students would go to Adams, Gilbert, and Wright Elementary. My students that would end up at Adams Elementary would not be guaranteed the opportunity to sing in a choir. This is my 7th year at Morrill Elementary, and I have worked hard to build a music program that fosters a love of music, which contributes to the success of our students. I have written grants and been awarded hundreds of dollars in new instruments to facilitate student learning. In addition to teaching music, I also coach award-winning robotics teams. Year after year, Ray Carrion and I coach our robotics teams, and routinely at least one team qualifies for the regional championship. This success is directly linked to Mr. Carrion and I working together for the success of our students. If Morrill is repurposed, there is no guarantee that Mr. Carrion and myself will end up at the same campus. It takes a minimum of 2 coaches to coach a successful robotics team, and together, Mr. Carrion and myself have over 15 years of experience coaching robotics. We've been asked to work with teams across San Antonio because we are known for our success. Morrill is a B-rated school. We have been a B-rated school for many years. I understand that the district has to be fiscally responsible. However, the number of students in attendance and the building capacity is only one piece of the puzzle. You need to understand why Morrill Elementary experiences such a high level of student success. This is due to the incredible team of teachers and staff that work here at Morrill Elementary. Yes, we are a small campus, but that is a positive, not a negative. Because the classes are small, we are able to work with our students and target each child's specific needs and help them grow. We are also an extremely safe campus with our playground centrally located inside the school. If Morrill was to be repurposed and our faculty and staff was moved around the district, student success would be impacted. Morrill Elementary is a legacy campus for a reason. Many of our students, parents, and grandparents attended Morrill, and they are proud of this fact. Why do families continue to send their children here generation after generation? It is because they know just how much Morrill teachers and staff care about their students' education. This specific combination of administration, teachers, staff, and paraprofessionals is the secret sauce to our success. Harlandale is supposed to be a family working together. We take that very seriously at our campus. Morrill means family, and we feel it is in the district's best interest to keep this Morrill family together and breed future success.
Thank you, Ms. Carnigan. Thank you so much for your words and for signing up for public comment. We appreciate it. Next community member that signed up is Alma Alvarez. Ms. Alvarez? Hi, Ms. Alvarez.
Hi, buenas tardes a todos. La razón por la que estoy aquí es-
Permítame un segundo.
Ok,
Antes de que usted empiece, va a tener los 3 minutos en la pantalla para que usted use como guía. Nada más son 3 minutos. A los 3 minutos voy a tener que pararla. Pero bienvenida y gracias por ponerse en la lista de comentar sus sugerencias y opinión. Adelante.
bueno, pues el día de hoy yo me enteré que quieren cerrar la escuela donde están mis hijos. La escuela se llama Carver. Me enteré a las 3:30 de la tarde aproximadamente. Eso me causó pues realmente mucha angustia y tristeza porque yo tengo mis 2 hijos ahí. Yo siento que ellos ahí están muy contentos. He visto el progreso que ellos tienen en esa escuela. Veo cómo los maestros trabajan para que los niños crezcan educativamente, hasta emocionalmente. Realmente fue una impresión saber que está sucediendo esto y es muy triste. A mí me gustaría que continúe abierta debido a que pues no me gustaría mover a mis hijos de ahí. Esto también les causa a ellos una inestabilidad emocional. Además que la escuela pues es prácticamente estructuralmente es nueva. Yo veo cómo trabajan los maestros duro y arduo por nuestros hijos. Realmente es una pena que esté pasando por esta situación y pues a mí me gustaría de toda el alma que continuara abierta para mis hijos y para los hijos de los demás padres que tenemos ahí a los bebés. Y es todo. Gracias.
Gracias, señora Álvarez. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias, señor Álvarez, y le agradezco de todo corazón que haya venido y que haya hecho usted sus sugerencias, su opinión y sus comentarios al público. Gracias. Next community member that has signed up is Rita Aguilar. Ms. Aguilar. Hi, Ms. Aguilar.
Hi.
Good afternoon. As a friendly reminder, you have a 3-minute timer on the screen to help you guide.
Okay.
We're ready
Thank
whenever
you.
you are, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Rita Aguilar. My children attend Hardendale High School and Rayburn Elementary. Unfortunately, the district has been faced with some difficult decisions and with the recent town hall meetings that have informed us of the possible changes and feedback from the community in regards to strategic planning. One of the most important factors is our ADA, average daily attendance, and our student enrollment. I'm a former employee of HISD, and one of my positions held was the attendance clerk at Hardendale Middle School. I understand students' attendance brings in school funding. As most of you know, that when a student attends school any part of the day and brings in doctor's notes, not only is it an excused absent, but it's coded with an M, which means the campus and district still get funding. If they attend a court appearance, we still get funding. How many parents know this rule? not many. This is a very important rule and guideline that parents should be educated in. What are these campuses doing to improve attendance? What preventatives or incentives, if any, have been done? What else can we do as a district to educate our parents, staff, community about the attendance? It's not a comfortable situation to tell a parent, we need your child in school to receive funding, but maybe that's what needs to happen. Sometimes being very forward with parents. Being very forward with parents is what we need. I know one of the most important plans for Rayburn is to have our police department housed at that location. This move creates a great presence to the south side of San Antonio. The safety of our children is so important, especially with the most recent tragedy in Uvalde, Texas. Rayburn has created a safe haven for all my children. The faculty and staff, custodians, and cafeteria workers have had great impact on their lives. As much as it saddens me to see that campus possibly being dissolved, it bothers me even more if we do nothing now and those same people are out of jobs in a few years. I don't want TEA coming into our school district making the choice for us. I had a conversation with my 7-year-old and informed him that he may have to go to Adams Elementary. His first question after I showed him where the campus was that, can we get Bell Millers every day? This shows the innocence of a child. If I tell him negative things about the possible change, he'll believe me. If I give him a positive outlook on these changes, he'll still believe me. This is where I, as a parent, have to believe in our school system. Instead of working against these possible changes, we need to work together. The board has mentioned on several occasions, you are here for the community and the best interest of everyone. But remember, not every student or staff member will have an easy transition. We can agree to disagree, but I have to put my trust in the school board to vote in favor for what is the best interest and the future of Harlandale ISD. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aguilar. Truly appreciate you signing up for public comment and allowing us to hear your thoughts, concerns, and suggestions. Thank you so much. Next community member that signed up is Amanda Sanchez. Ms. Sanchez. Hello, Ms. Sanchez.
Hi.
Welcome. As a friendly reminder, you have your 3-minute timer on the screen to help guide you along. We're ready whenever you are, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening. I am a product of the community and this district. I graduated in 2008 from McCollum High School. When I was in middle school, I was a part of the superintendent circle and participated in meetings and discussions on the topic of having our graduates return to our district. I felt like my voice mattered then, and I hope it matters now. I currently have 5 nieces and nephews who attend Vestal Elementary. My mother attended Vestal, my sisters attended Vestal. I'm a first-time mom. My daughters will be 4 in June. She looks forward to going to school and she's wanting to be with her nieces and nephews. Her cousins. Unfortunately, I was rejected by the district because I, quote, made too much money to enroll her in the pre-K3 program. I've submitted another application this year to try to get her into the pre-K4 program. I've attended these town hall meetings because I'm wanting to get my child into this district, but I have been rejected. And a topic that was brought up was a problem with enrollment. If you refuse parents enrollment at a young age, my next choice is to look outside of the district, find somewhere else that my child can go to school. And I won't come back to the district once she's already established her education routine elsewhere. I feel that is a hard decision for these parents to make when they're looking to register their kids in this district. And I would like to know how many parents are rejected each year because their kids do not receive funding from the state for them to enroll in school earlier years. Our children's education is an investment. And if we start at the 3-4-year-old level, that is a potential K-12 investment that you will get back on those children returning to your district. That's my concern. Thank you.
Ms. Sanchez, thank you so much for sharing with us your concerns, comments, and your heartfelt words. Truly appreciate it. Next community member that has signed up for public comment is Ms. Gina Castañeda. Ms. Castañeda? Hello, Ms. Castañeda.
Hi,
Welcome.
good evening,
As a
board
friendly
members.
reminder, give me 1 second, please. As a friendly reminder, you have your 3-minute timer.
Yes, totally understood.
Thank you.
Community members, superintendent, board, and community. This is not my first time up here at the podium. Many of you are aware of that. I regularly attend board meetings. I haven't in the last few months. But then this comes up. Closure of schools. Now, as y'all may know, that there's been several times that 2015, there was a group of us that kept addressing this board. You need to be careful of what you plan. You need to be careful. Bottom line, students first, period. It's not about a me, it's not about a they, anybody. One of the things, and I want to address this to Ms. Castleberry, Dr. Castleberry. Ms. Castleberry, I was told by several people here in this community that this was happening because of you, which I totally disagree, because you're not the end all, the be all. And I talked to TEA. So that was my questions to you, Mr. Soto. We have people out there making stuff up. And if these parents don't know exactly what's going on and they're not up to date, then you responsible to putting out that news. Not even less than a year ago, we spent $120 million on a bond. And now we're closing up schools because why? This board spent $1 million on a scoreboard. Or you're having your little frivolous little projects out here and you're going to approve them. We were told by you, we're going to sell the land because we expect more people to come in. And my answer to you was, don't count your chickens before they hatch, because you're going to be in the hole. And guess where we're at? We're in the hole. The promises of filling every person that's going to be displaced, employees. I keep getting told they're all going to be hired. Don't worry, we're going to hire them. Well, you know what I say to that? But I can't say it here. Okay? Because the fact is, y'all have been wrong since 2015. And guess what's going to happen to these children? Nothing. Their education doesn't matter to you.
Thank you, Ms. Castañeda. That was your 3 minutes. As always, Ms. Castañeda, thank you for being such a good advocate to the families in this district. We appreciate you signing up for public comment. Thank you, ma'am. Mhm. So the next community member that has signed up is Veronica Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez? Hello, Ms. Rodriguez. Hello. Welcome. Friendly reminder, you have a 3-minute timer on the screen, which will help you guide along your speech. We're ready whenever you are, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Soto and all of the Harlandale ISD members. My name is Veronica Rodriguez, and I'm speaking to you today as a parent of a student who attends Moore Elementary. as well as a former student of Moore Elementary. I'm truly appalled at the decisions being made today in regards to Morrow. Looking back to read the history of Harlandale, you can't first help but learn about Moore Elementary. The Harlandale legacy was built on the foundation that Moore Elementary holds, a legacy that exemplifies in Morrow. From our principal, teachers, admin, and support staff who have created educational excellence, as well as a safe place for our students, who in today's society is very much needed. I have seen firsthand the building blocks Morrow has instilled in their students, who have not only returned to Harlandale as teachers, counselors, and staff, but also as productive members of our community, as nurses, operators, and so much more. Students like my daughter are able to participate in programs at Morrow that further enrich their knowledge and prepare them for opportunities beyond elementary, such as robotics, student council, chess club, choir, safety patrols, and in the programs they bring to our community. The parent engagement is also very strong at Morrow, which speaks as a reflection to the kind of campus and neighborhood Morrow is a part of. I look back at my time at Morrow and understand its role in helping me choose my career path. I'm proud to be a Harlandale Indian, but I'm proud to be a Morrow Tiger just as much. I ask you to understand not only the students you would be letting down in closing the school that built Harlandale ISD, but the community that takes pride in being a part of Morrow Elementary. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Thank you for signing up for public comment and allowing us to hear your comments, concerns, and suggestions. We appreciate that. Moving on, next community member that signed up is Esmeralda Campos. Ms. Campos? Hello, Ms. Campos, welcome. As a friendly reminder, you have your 3-minute timer on the screen, which allows you some guidance as you direct your comments to the board. We're ready whenever you are, ma'am.
Dear community, I'm sure many of you have attended or heard the information given at the district town halls. Consolidating and repurposing the schools in Harlandale ISD is necessary. If the district gives in and keeps the schools open, how will you feel when you're told Harlandale ISD is no more? I'd rather feel a sting of losing a building, my kids go to Rayburn, than losing a district that my family has been a part of for 4 generations. I have many wonderful memories of my children at Rayburn, but I prefer the district to be around for years and decades to come. The future of this district requires difficult sacrifices. Our district has been around for more than 100 years. Changes and sacrifices have had to be made throughout the district's history to ensure its future. Change is never easy, but I would rather have these decisions made at a local level than a state level. We need to follow facts and not rule with emotions. We need to come together and unite and help each other through these important transitions so that our beloved district can carry on. Let's support what is ahead for the culture and tradition that is Harlandale to succeed and continue. Community, please pay attention to those screaming the loudest and are the most negative. Ask yourselves what they contribute to the district. Is it negative or positive? What is their history with this district? Is it negative or positive? Should you be listening to those that want to hurt your children by means of hurting your district? Follow only those that have contributed and continue to contribute in positive ways. Follow only those that want to help you and your children. Follow only those who have remained steadfast in support and haven't flip-flopped back and forth when it's convenient for them. Follow only those who engage within your community in positive ways and help your schools by rolling up their sleeves and asking your teachers how they can help. Community, I urge you to stay vigilant from those who want to hurt us, as they are lurking and are closer than you think. Ready for the opportunity to shut down Harlandale ISD. Support your school district, support the changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Campos, for setting up for public comment and allowing us an opportunity to hear your comments, concerns, and suggestions. The next community member that has signed up is Mari Hasso. Ms. Hasso? Hello, Ms. Hasso.
Hello.
Welcome. Friendly reminder, you have a 3-minute timer. It'll help you guide along your addressing the board. We're ready whenever you are, ma'am.
Okay, first of all, I just kind of want to mimic actually several of the concerns that we have here. I feel like there has been a lot of very frivolous spending for the district for a very long time. Several of the bonds that we have received have been ridiculous. For a sports stadium, why do we need this? Why do we need this? If we don't need this, we should be putting that money back into these campuses that are closing down. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous spending. And the only ones that are suffering are our children. And it seems like none of y'all care. Only thing y'all want to do is shut down schools to save a buck, right? You could have saved money there. You could have saved money on the scoreboard that was brought up. Help us understand this, please. Tell me, please, what is the implementation plan that you have to be able to close down these schools and properly give these children, not just regular children, but the special needs children? How are you going to be able to transfer them from campuses that are way further there than their current addresses? What about the busing? Do we have enough bus drivers? What's the plan for that? Are we ever going to get any of the answers for any of this? Have you guys looked at this map? It's on HISD website. If you look at the sections here, almost.
Madam
every-
Chair, this is for them to address the board, not the community.
Ms. Hassel,
Tell me how that's going to work
Ms.
out.
Hassel, yeah. Can you just address us even when you're speaking to the community?
This
please?
map
Thank you.
right here, when you take these schools out, these people need to understand. They look at this map and they get a very clear picture of what is left. Bare bones. Now, if children need stability, they need a basic education to be able to succeed in middle school and in high schools. Why are we reducing the elementary schools? Isn't this where they should have a stable standing? Something that is a routine for them? Or is that just not a concern? As a parent of a child at Carabel Elementary, I want to make sure that my child's concerns are met along with every other child, not just at Carabel, but at Morrill, at Columbia Heights, at Morrill, Rayburn, Vestal, and Jules Schultz Center. The list that you guys are proposing for elementary schools is ridiculous. Everybody here talks about sacrifices. The only ones that are sacrificing are us as parents and our children. I'd like to see something else be sacrificed besides our children's education. That's all I have to say.
Ms. Hassel, thank you so much for your heartfelt words, comments, and suggestions. We truly appreciate you signing up for public comment. Thank you. Next community member on the list is Ms. Lourdes Rios. Ms. Rios? Hello, Ms. Rios.
Hello.
As a friendly reminder, you have your 3-minute timer on the screen that'll help you guide your comment to the board. Whenever you're ready, we're ready.
Alrighty. My name is Lourdes Rios. I run the Harlandale Sunshine Pantry in a neighborhood here in the Harlandale district. I wanted to come and speak on behalf of the families that I serve. We need to look further into the dynamics of what the families are going under. You know, I know a lot of kids are missing school. I'm kind of going to mimic off of what a lot of people have been saying. I really appreciate them. We need to look at the different dynamics that are changing, you know, to meet them. They're under so much stress since COVID. Anxiety has increased, especially social anxiety for kids, and the changing work life. Balance is creating changes for parents getting kids to and from school. We need to meet these families where they're at. I don't think that closing these schools and consolidating is going to help that. We've already lost a lot. We need to meet these families where they're at and communicate to them the importance of the schools. importance of going to school. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but maybe we should develop a group made up of parents, but and of parents and community members. I know this needs to be done. We need to block walk, like the constable had said. The world has changed in the last couple of years. I am not for closing these schools. We need to keep these families and communities together. We have already had so many changes in the world, and it is mentally affecting so many, economically and socially. Please, I do advocate, we have to try to keep these families together. It's already been breaking apart. I don't know what that would look like to keep these schools open, but we need to try to keep them open in all these communities together. They've already suffered enough. Whatever it looks like to go meet these families, tell them the importance of getting their kids to school. I'd be willing to walk with those people. I'd be willing to walk so that we can get our families back in, get this trauma, get the stress, whatever it may take. But please, please, I advocate you, do not create more trauma for these families. Do not put them in a horrible place economically, socially. Do not put them there. They've already been through too much. I mean, everybody has since COVID. It's just getting worse. So please, I advocate to keep these schools open. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rios, for signing up for public comment and making us aware of your suggestions, ideas, and heartfelt words. Truly appreciate it. The next community member and our last community member that signed up for public comment is Mr. Peña, Mr. Roman Peña. Hello, Mr. Peña.
Hello.
As a
I'm-
friendly reminder, you have your
I-
3-minute timer on the screen
I
to
have a-
guide you along. We're ready whenever you are, sir.
I had the pleasure of meeting you last night and learning about the bad news that you all are discussing today. I learned about it on the newspaper. And that is very bad for the community to learn through the newspaper. As a result, you have a lot of people here that are upset about what you all are trying to do. Now, another thing that I learned from hearing from your superintendent last night is that he appears to have surrendered on the issue of closing or keeping those stores, those schools open. And furthermore, I heard that you all are under some kind of a cover from the Texas State Board of Education. They call it a conservator. Now, the people need to know that if you make a decision, the conservator can overrule you. And it's not your fault that you're in the situation you're in. You're in the situation you're in because it was dictated by the state that you become a troubled district. As you know, for many years, Harlandale has been the target of a lot of criticism. And at one time almost lost its credentials. And they almost closed it, so you got rid of the superintendent for that. And you brought in Mr. Soto. Now, this lady here that is here is probably the one making the decisions. And the people here think that it's you all. Well, the superintendent, now I know why he surrendered, because he has to do it. Otherwise, she would make a bad recommendation to the state. So what can we do together? This is a beautiful board. You know, it took us 60 years to bring this board to this place here. We used to come, I ran for school board 60 years ago. And there was only one Hispanic on here, like it's today, that she's the only Anglo here. You know, it just changed completely. So we have to take care of ourselves. We have to keep those schools open. The American GF Forum, LULAC, and Tejano Democrat will come to your defense. We will come here. And and you all do not be afraid to speak up. Let's do a neighborhood community like the constable recommended. We go out into the community and live the times and tell the community exactly what is occurring here, because the community doesn't know. The people that have spoken here, they blaming you for what's going on, and really you're not to blame. I'm sorry, but I have to say it. So I'm ready and we're ready to help you in whatever you all need,
Thank you, Mr.
okay?
Peña. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Peña, for signing up for public comment and allowing us to hear your concerns, suggestions, and comments. Truly appreciate it. Moving on to agenda item 3, the board will conduct a work session with the superintendent and staff. Mr. Soto, are we ready?
Yes, Madam Chair, Board of Trustees, at this time, Ms. Mariana Vieira will be up and Mr. Hernandez to discuss the next steps for Harlandale ISD options and proposals.
Thank you, Mr. Soto.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Soto, Cabinet and Community. Tonight, I will be presenting the same presentation that we've been showing our community members through our town halls. This presentation shows the proposal for refining schools and buildings. This is a QR code that we have been showing our community. We have been telling them that they can communicate with us their concerns, questions, feedback through this QR code. We have been going through every single one of their questions and comments, and we do have an FAQ posted on our website under community for everybody to see what the most common questions have been with the answers. So this is the current situation at Harlandale ISD. These are the main two things that are going on. So the plan that I will be presenting to you tonight is the enhancement of repurposing for schools, the enhancement of HISD. The other option is to not do anything about this. So we repurpose 3, 2, 1, or no schools at all. We are looking at declaring financial exigency by January 2024. What that means is that next year, by January 2024, if we don't do absolutely anything, if we stay the way we are, we will be having a completely different conversation, which means we will be talking about laying off many people from our staff. There was a demographer study done back in October of 2022, and these are some of the results from this study. The main concern is the enrollment at HISD. As you can see from this graph, we can see that the enrollment has been declining. You can see at 2015, the enrollment was high, and this is when the bond 2015 passed. That's when Vestal and Carol Bell were built, those two buildings, those two schools. And as you can see, the trend there was going up. After that, you can see, though, that the trend, the enrollment trend started going down. The 3 main data sources that have shown us this information started back in 2018 from the Templeton Review, a TA report, and of course, the demographer study that was done back in October. So this isn't something new. We can see since 2018 that our enrollment has been going down. You can see this year that our enrollment went up a little bit. And we know that that is because of all of the recruitment that we have been doing, whether it's through TV advertising, radio ads, street banners. We can see that increase in enrollment was done or happened because of all the recruitment that we have been trying to do here at Harlandale. So just the district overview. This is also from the demographer study, so I will go through these points. Harlandale Independent School District is expected to experience continual decline through school year 2031, resulting in a net decrease of more than 3,100 students. The district experienced a 19% decrease in residential elementary students from school year 2018 to school year 2021, and significant loss is expected to continue through school year 2026. HISD experienced a sharp decrease in pre-K and kindergarten students in school year 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but there was not a significant bounce back in school year 2021. As the smaller elementary classes move on to middle school, the number of students in grades 6 through 8 will decrease by more than 46% by school year 2031. So one of the main factors of why we are in the situation that we are currently in is the low birth rates. There are no more kids being born in Harlandale ISD. It's not just a problem with Harlandale ISD, it's something that is happening across our nation, across our state. And so specifically to Harlandale ISD, we can see that not very many people are having babies anymore. Also, the declining market share. In the past, people didn't have as many options as to where they would send their kids to school. They either went to the school district, their neighborhood school district, or if they could afford it, maybe they would be able to go to a private institution. Right now, we can see, I mean, just across the street from us, we have charter schools, we have other schools that we are constantly competing against. And then, of course, the decreasing of and lack of residential development around our area. As you know, Harlandale ISD is landlocked. We don't have much room to grow in our area, and there aren't very many residential developments being built, which means there are no more kids growing in the Harlandale ISD area. This is the attendance overview. All 4 middle schools will experience a decline, with Leal Middle School decreasing by about 335 students over the next 10 years. Both high schools will experience the largest decrease in the last 5 years of the forecasted period. Harlandale High School is forecasted to decrease by more than 600 students, while McCollum High School will decrease by more than 560 students. We have gotten a lot of questions about Bond 2022 and why are we not using that money to help us with the current deficit that we are in. However, this explains what that money is able to be used for. We cannot use that money for payroll. The only thing we can do with the Bond 2022 money is with facilities. We can fix facilities. We could have bought new facilities, but there's nothing more that we can do with that money. At this time, I will have Mr. Hernandez go over the financial analysis results.
Thank you, Mariana. What we have presented here and what we've been presenting in the past town halls is the effect of our ADA and its effect on our state funding. One of the things that we noticed in 2018-19 was our state funding was at 98 million, 98.8. It increased in 1920, which was on a new biennium year, which the state funds school districts every 2 years. That's when House Bill 3 was passed and a major effort was made to provide funds to school districts to provide the increases that our teachers and staff solely additionally deserve. Another item that was included in House Bill 3 was to make sure to provide property tax relief. So that's why you see a decline in our property taxes from 2018-19 to 2020. So we go into our second year of our school district. And so in 2021, again, reminded that that's the year of COVID. So our ADA decreases and our state funding decreases. But at the same time, our property tax increases because when you have lower ADA, then that means there's more property value behind each student, which then offsets the amount that the state contributes to the school district. So we see then the trend in 21-22 of our funding going down from 93 to 92.8 million. And again, our taxes at 20.8. We are projected based on our budget to have in 2023 at 89.6 million. And our property taxes to be at 23 million.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
if I may, I know it's a work session, so I'm gonna treat it as we normally do. So if we can, Mr. Hernandez, I know a lot of the questions too deal with ADA, and I know that's always a point of discussion when we have our budget work sessions. And we also discuss it during when we're going to support our teachers with their much deserved pay raises. Is that correct, Mr. Soto or
That's correct.
Mr. Hernandez? I know that's something that we discuss every year, and it's something that you guys have shared with us since 2015, when I've had the pleasure of representing our community here. In addition to that, when it comes to ADA and all these other issues, I know where I work at, our superintendent's already hounding us. What's your plan? What's your course of action? You better be above 92%. And 92% 7, 8, 10 years ago, because I've been in the field for 12 years, is not, it's not the bar. That should not be the bar. But sadly, we know we're in a new time period after COVID where 89, 90%, we're okay. We're saying, okay, we're all right. Let's figure out a way. But Mr. Soto, I know we've discussed it before, and I've mentioned it before, and I've asked you before. If we were at, back to the early 2000s, late 2000s, 2010s, if we were at 97, 98%, how much revenue could we potentially have if our students were in schools?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hernandez, but basically 1 percentage point equates to about $1 million here at Harlendale ISD.
That's correct, sir.
And a lot of this, we don't just dictate who makes this funding or the formula. That is contingent on our legislators. Is that correct, Mr. Soto?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I know you've gone out there to support public schools. I know we have an attack, and I've been saying that for the last couple meetings with school choice, right? That we've had attack on public schools in regards to how they want to support us and how they want to brand us. And it is infuriating that they won't support us. And Mr. Soto and Mr. Hernandez can attest to that because they've been advocating for us and on our behalf. But have those conversations gone to anything of significance, sir?
Well, hopefully this legislative session, we will see some funding come in. Mr. Hernandez sent over a slide that came from education program that he's involved with. And they're giving us a couple of scenarios of increasing the basic allotment. If you want to touch base, but again, this is all speculation, sir, again, until it gets ruled on, but there are some, it looks like there will be some funding. But again, when there is the basic allotment increase, 30% has to go to salaries, to teacher pay raises. Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, sir. And so what we've seen from the Equity Center is some basic scenarios ranging from an allotment or an increase in revenues of 1.5 million to 3.2. But again, as Mr. Soto said, 30% of that deservedly needs to go to our staff. The remaining amount then is the rest for operations.
No, totally. And I know that might be a compromise that the state and the House might make in concessions for school choice, because that's the agenda of our governor, who's been in our backyard and explicitly said that he's supporting school choice. And that's the frustrating part, right? Is that they're going to make concessions in order to get certain things passed. And we're going to be the ones having to deal with the issues such as unfunded mandates that normally get tossed towards us. So, I mean, I think it's frustrating that people, consider certain things, lowball tactics on that part. But I know when it comes to public aid, we're doing our best to support it. In addition to that, sir, I know with the ADA, do we get the daily updates, and do we consider that throughout our meetings, or is that something that we just started? It's been quite a while since we've been focusing on that, right, sir?
Yes, sir. We discuss it in workshops, and we discuss it at the board meetings, and it's displayed to the community, I believe, since early fall.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next part of the slide on to the right is reflecting our ADA, which we've been discussing right now. As you can see, it started in 2019. We showed 12,476 and in an attendance rate of 93.26. So again, as Mr. Moreno alluded to earlier, usually before that in prior years, our attendance used to be at 96, 97%. But as you can see, as we trend down in 1920 or 2020, that's when COVID hit towards the last part of March. Our ADA was still at 11,558, but we had an adjustment made by TEA. 2021, again, our ADA dropped down to 10,390. And in 2022, our ADA was 10,166. Now you see a number in parentheses. The state made some adjustments because they recognized that school districts were facing that issue of a low attendance. So in order to supplement some of the revenues or loss of state revenues, they made an adjustment for the school district. The attendance rate then is at 87%. When we budgeted for 2023, we actually budgeted at 10,171. The ADA that I'm presenting here is our most recent report that we get from the state on the summary, what they call the summary of finance. And based on the data that we've been sending them throughout the year, they're actually looking at an adjustment of our ADA to be at 10,432. So as Mariana alluded to earlier, we are making efforts to attract more kids, so we can see some of that being paid off as the state gives us the updated numbers. So again, our attendance is low at 89.53 when we were used to having an attendance at 96%. So when we look at staffing and its implications on the district, in 2017-18, our staffing was at 2,299. As we progressed each year, you can see a decline. And again, that's through attrition. Those are through vacancies, making adjustments on teacher allotments based on the class sizes. So when you look at what we budgeted for in 2023, our staffing has decreased down to 2,000. So again, wherever we can and not affect student performance, our staff has been reduced from 2,299 to 2,007. Now, along that same point, we also look at, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry, sir. I know you're referencing 2021, 2022, and that's great because of if you could share, sir, I know there was some obviously ESSER funds that we were utilized to sustain some programs and initiatives. Is there a way you can share on what particular teacher units were created in order to support the COVID slide that we experienced after 2020, and also the supports we provided with the mental health and social emotional issues that were on a rise? And is there something that you can kind of just share briefly in regards to the RTI positions and also the MCLs and things like that?
Correct, sir. You touched base on a few that we created with the RTI teachers and the MCL. And also we provided social workers at every campus. We ended up opening up the Harndale Care Center that provides those wraparound services for not just our students, but our staff and our community. And that is another program that is well worth every penny that we spend on, as alluded to this evening with some of the parents talking about anxiety and high anxiety in our children. So we have social workers, we have counselors, psychologists, bereavement, drug addiction counselors. And so those services are there readily available. It has grown out of capacity. We have a three-week waiting period for those services. So we're looking to amp that up. But all this was funded by ESSER money. And Mr. Hernandez can add a little bit about the ESSER money. The ESSER money it's next year, either we spent it or we lose it. And we're going to end up spending that money for when we try to do for our children to catch up academically. But Mr. Hernandez, do you want to add anything on the ESSER funding?
Yes, sir. And so what Mr. Soto is alluded to is 23-24 is the last year that we received the ESSER funds. The plans that we have, and it's on our website as the way those funds are being spent. After that, then the ESSER funds go away. The positions that we moved over from the general fund to the ESSER are kind of be coming back into the general fund. And so we need to make sure that we plan for that for 24-25 to make sure to see what it is that can be absorbed back into the general fund. So steps are being taken now in order to address that need that's going to be coming up in a couple of years.
And if I may add, Mr. Soto, if you don't mind expanding on it as well. So today, or a couple of days ago, I had an experience because we have some chronic absenteeism, and so having to put together a plan of action is, the suggest or the request and directive of our superintendent over there. So if I may have another minute, is that possible?
Yes, sir, of course.
Do I need to motion it or?
No.
Okay, so real briefly, in doing so, I hit that roadblock where student supports is like, you didn't need to hit all these checklists in order to go do a home visit, do these things, do these processes. We can't file on a parent until all these measures have been exhausted. So it's mid-March and I have people that will wait 9 days because they know on the 10th day, they'll get unenrolled. And so we'll have that problem with many of our students. And we're trying to locate them. A lot of times, like we said, we're undermanned in certain departments. But could you also just kind of share out, Mr. Soto, the avenues and the extent to what we do to go locate our students where we have social workers, principals, staff members going actively and finding them and, doing those measures?
Ms. Casey, can you elaborate on what our vice principals have to do when we put some documentation together and we end up sending to the court system? And the response the court system has had to our administrators about trying to take some of our parents to court. And again, it's not to fine our parents, but it's just to hold them accountable for bringing their children to school.
Yes, so our courts have now had a change. We have now taken students to court. They get they get warning letters that are sent to students after so many absences. They also have attendance committees at the campuses that meet and develop a plan. When students do go to court with their parents, they actually sign a contract that dictates what they will do, how often they will go to school, and if they violate the contract, then they can go into criminal court after that. And we have started court for all of our schools at this point. That was something that the county had stopped during COVID, but that has started again.
And do you know also, Mr. Soto, I know our PIMS clerks, a lot of times when they're calling our parents, because we send out robocalls, we call them directly, we do all those measures. But in some instances too, we just tell them, we tell the kid, all we need is a parent note, we have 5, use them. Is that also done here? Where they have an excuse note, doesn't matter what it is, as long as the parent sends a note, we'll excuse it?
Right, if a parent sends a note and it's a valid excuse, right, majority of the time will be excused absence.
Can Mr. Hernandez move forward with the?
Yeah, it was just to
Okay.
illustrate the support we provide in making sure our parents are able to, bring their students to our campuses.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno.
Yes, sir. And so when we look at the compensation of what we've been able to provide to the staff, again, in the biennium of 2018 and 2019, we had slight increases, but again, in 2020 and 2021, that was the new biennium. That's where House Bill 3 was passed and provided for the significant increases. There were raises between 4 to 6%. Those were based on salary earned for the teachers and midpoint for the remaining staff. So also that was towards the end of COVID, or the beginning of COVID in March of 2020, going into the next year of 2021. Many school districts like ours were taking steps then to anticipate a lower ADA, and so no raises were given for that second year. 2022 and 2023 is the new biennium, which is the one that we're in right now. Again, whenever there's additional funds, as Mr. Soto alluded to earlier, 30% of those funds need to go towards deserved salary increases for our staff. So in 2022, raises were provided between 3 to 4%. And then in 2023, a raise of 2%, even though we were seeing a decrease in ADA, we need to make sure that we're remaining competitive. The right side of the chart then provides you the fund balance, and then through the stewardship of the board back in 2017, 2018, fund balance was built up to about 48 million. So the recommended amount that DEA provides to school districts is to have 2.5 months worth of operations, which is 25 million. So again, as increases were provided, operations were conducted at school districts. At the end of each of these years, you can see on the right-hand side, the use of the fund balance, and which was a good backstop to the lowering of ADA and the continual of the operations. However, you can see in 2021, where our ADA took a significant drop. And so again, with having that fund balance, it helped to offset the amount of the loss of 9.5 million. Now in 21-22, we would have suffered a loss, but again, with the sale of the land, that brought in basically an additional $4 million. The state also provided an adjustment that actually went towards providing additional state monies of about $4 million additionally to school districts, since it recognized what was happening to school districts. And the adjustment was called operational minute adjustments. So instead of having a loss of almost 8 million, we actually saw support of 1.8 million. So when we look at our budget for 2023, we look at what is our ADA that we had received in 2022 and budget based on that, because we have we can't anticipate whether the state will make any adjustments, and we've heard none to the current ADA situation of school districts. So that's where our budget is at, budgeting a deficit of 12 million. Now, our current savings starting the year is at 36.5. So the projections, if they show true, then our fund balance would be reduced down to 24.5 million. Basically, when we look at our regular program allotment, each student, as we've talked about ADA, brings in $6,160 per student. Now, that's granted that they attend 100% of each school day. But as we just saw, that's not get the case. So whatever percentage that student does attend, then it's going to be the percentage of that 6,160. One of the other things as we've gathered and we focused on our past town halls is the state funding, how that's affected by school districts. But one of the other things that we need to keep in mind is we do get property taxes. And so when you look at this chart, you can see the ADA that it was projected. And when we met with Mo Casey, which is an expert in this field, they looked at our data. They made a projection of 10,000 students, providing them the demographers information. Then they projected out going out 3 more years. And as you can see, and as we've been discussing, the ADA decreasing from 10,000 down to 9,000. Now you look at the property values, and as everybody knows, our property values continue to increase. And so you see for 2023, that's at $2.5 billion. And so at the end of 2026, it's projected to increase to 3.1 billion. But one of the initiatives that the state has put in place recently is what they call property tax relief. And we've all heard that on the news. So as a way to implement that, they put a cap as to what the amount that the district can raise based on its property value and the increase each year. So you can see what they call a tax compression, another way of saying property tax relief. So you can actually see our tax rate declining from 0.94 to 0.85. Now, the other item that we're bringing this evening that again, that was brought in our discussion in our town halls is the amount of contribution from our taxes. So on M&O collections, we projected to collect in property taxes $23 million. And so each year you can see it increase. And when you look at the state aid, again, as we've talked about, if our ADA decreases, then our state funding decreases from 85.3 down to 81, 76, and 72. So basically what happens is that as our ADA decreases, we actually have more property value behind each student. So what the state looks at is says, okay, then you can put more into your funding of your operations, and we will reduce more of our state funding. So that's why you see the decrease in state funding, but then an increase in M&O taxes. Because again, the property values behind each student increases because the numbers are getting lower. The other two items are what they call tier 1 aid and tier 2 aid. Basically, that's if you add up those two amounts, it equals to the state aid. And so tier 1 is funding from the state to provide for regular instruction, which includes not only regular instruction, special ed, current technology, GT, STEM, and the other, what we call tier 2, that's the effort that the community has made since we went to the maximum amount that could be taxed in our property taxes. So the community is making every effort in order to raise and maximize state funding. So what the state basically does is that if you make this effort, they give us this additional money of at 12.5 million. So when you add up the total amount that actually goes towards our budget that is already budgeted in the deficit that we've been talking about is at 108 million. Then you take that amount minus what our costs of operations are, which the majority of our costs in our payroll, as we've been discussing in our town halls, represents between 86 to 90%. So those operating costs minus these monies that are available to the districts then have us at a deficit at $12 million. And that's the steps that we're trying to address as we go through this strategic plan.
Yes, Mr. Lerna.
I was going to interject here that I think the community needs to know how much it costs for us to run the school per year. And according to the charts here, we're 12 million in the hole, right? It's $12 million, people. I don't have $12 million. Maybe Red McCombs Foundation, Zachary Foundation, they got $12 million. But they need to understand that that's the deficit we're facing every year and probably even more so in the future, correct? I mean,
for 23, 23. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
At this time, I'll have Mariana.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you.
Ms. Mariana?
So I'm going to be showing you the proposals that we have been again showing at our town hall meetings. These are the proposals, after all the research that has been done, this is, some of the plans, that we have come up with. Again, these options, we want to make sure that the community understands that we want to occupy these buildings, because we do not want to have empty buildings at Harlandale ISD. The first proposal is with the Shea Building. The Shea Building is one of our oldest buildings here at Harlandale ISD. It was constructed back in 1956. And so currently at the Shea Building, we have different programs, which I will be going over in the next slide. But the proposal for the building is to turn it into a multi-purpose building and a wellness area. This building would have a fine arts dressing rooms, staging area, and also a performing arts center. We understand that that's very important for our students and community. And that's something that also passed with Bond 2022. So this is something that would be paid with that money. The next proposal, we're going to be speaking about Columbia Heights Elementary. As you can see, Columbia Heights Elementary has a capacity of 614 students. Currently, there is an actual enrollment of 311 students, which means that the actual utilization of this building is at 51%. In comparison to a similar elementary school, Adams Elementary, you can see that the difference is quite significant. So the proposal for Columbia Heights Elementary, as I was saying, we have different programs that are housed currently at the Shea Center, which is special education, STEM, GT. And so the proposal would be to transfer those programs to Columbia Heights Elementary. The students that are currently at Columbia Heights Elementary would be transferred to either Stonewall Flanders and or Collier. And we know that Columbia Heights is one of the smallest schools with the smallest capacity. Now, after listening to the feedback from the community, we have added a point. And so we know that Columbia Heights has a dual language academy. So we are proposing to move that academy into another school, and it would be kind of a school within a school. So that way we would not separate the bilingual academy.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Moreno.
if I may, Mr. Soto, can you kind of elaborate on the school within the school? Because I know from my experience, it's, having one AP for each level, but you're talking about two specific distinct schools?
Yes, sir. It's very similar to we have our standalone STEM early college high school. There are some school districts that have a STEM early college high school inside of its school. So it's a school within a school. With that program is alive and well in that school.
And it would be like kind of it operates in its own kind of and in its own way, like you have a person that's the principal versus a principal here, right?
Correct, sir.
Okay. Thank you. And then also just, I know with, can you kind of maybe elaborate too on why there, you're looking at potentially putting a track or a park? And I know you mentioned it in the town halls, but I know that's a unique idea in being that we have an emphasis on health and wellness, especially in our communities. I know that zip code 7211 is one of the largest areas with diabetes and heart conditions and things of that nature, and unfortunately facing the battle of obesity. But we wanted to say we're not necessarily just taking this away, but we're also offering something that we can be used with substance, or what are your thoughts, sir?
Yes, to reiterate, we do have bond money, and bond money can be used to upgrade our facilities. And we need to take advantage of that because our children deserve the very best facilities. They visit other school districts and they go into facilities and they come back, and we want to provide them the same facilities. Well, the same thing with our community. We want to, that Columbia Heights has a huge chunk of land because the school was built a little further to the east. And so all throughout the west and headed towards the south of that property, there's a good piece of land that's just there with a nice, beautiful oak tree. And so we want to provide, since we're going to have bond money, if this goes forward, which is going to be the next proposal with the CTE building, we're going to save over $14 million on bond money. So again, that bond money can be used back to facilities. So we can provide a wellness area, a playground for the children, a walking track and some lighting to accommodate our community.
And Mr. Soto, if you mind, if you can as well. I know being from that part of Harlandale, we're usually the least amounts visible, but can you share like how we can
Mr.
potentially have more things on that side?
Mr. Moreno, you want to ask for another minute?
Yeah, just a brief minute, like 5 seconds. Yeah, brief minute, if I may.
Thank you. That way we can be consistent.
Sure, sorry. So would you mind just elaborating, sir, on, you know, I know a lot of times we have events on this side of Harlandale, but you know, the possibility of being able to have people see that, you know, there is a good side, because unfortunately I always hear about my side being the bad side, because I live by Leal, but that's not the truth, right? So if we can you elaborate how we can also enhance the image of, hey, this side of town of Harlandale is just as positive and populous as the others?
Correct, sir. And so besides probably their carnival, they don't get many events in that quadrant of the school district, and shame on us. So beautifying that area and just not leaving it vacant with an empty school building and just leaving that beautiful piece of acreage there on the right, we can beautify it and have more national night outs and things in that sort. I know our cultural arts is based on the Roosevelt Parade route that we take to from the stadium and up north to the missions, but there can definitely be a lot more events in that if we beautify and use that land accordingly.
So now we will be talking about Vestal Elementary. That's one of our other proposals. So if you can see from the facility usage study, it has a capacity of 673 students. The actual enrollment is 359, which means it's being utilized 53%. So the original proposal is to move Vestal, to create a career and technical education center at Vestal Elementary. And so we would be transferring the students to Gillette, Carol Bell, and Bel Air. And so like Mr. Soto said, this career and technical education building was also part of the bond proposal. And so with this building, we would be able to provide certifications for our students to give them a better future. So they would have certifications as far as HVAC, plumbing, dental hygienist. And so with them being certified within those fields, we are securing for them to have higher salaries right out of high school. And so also moving the Harlandale Alternative Center to Vestal Elementary is part of the proposal. And the back building would be Avance Early Childhood Center. This is the original proposal. Later on in the presentation, we have another option that has come about after our town hall meetings. Rayburn Elementary has a student capacity of 554 students. The actual enrollment is 351, and it's being utilized 63%. The proposal for Rayburn Elementary is to move the information services offices and the police department to Rayburn Elementary. Also, the Boys and Girls Club have said that if we give them a space for them to have their Boys and Girls Club here in Harlandale, they will be providing free membership to all of the Harlandale ISD students. And so that's another thing that we are looking into is into housing the Boys and Girls Club at Rayburn Elementary, which means that it's just one more service that we would be able to offer our students. For example, if our school is closed or if our district is closed on a Friday, those parents would be able to take those students to the Boys and Girls Club because they will be operating. And so the students would be transferred to Adams Elementary or Carol Bell. Morrill Elementary has a student capacity of 673. It currently has an enrollment of 355, and it's being utilized 53%.
Ms. Mariana, can you give me a second? Mr. Luna, did you?
Going back to Columbia Heights.
Go ahead.
I just want the community to understand, right, Mr. Soto, that's there's 311 enrollment and capacity 614. That means that there's almost 300 empty seats, right? In that building.
Yes, sir.
And we're still having to pay the custodians, the cafeteria staff, all those things still come into play, correct?
Yes, custodians, cafeteria workers, and utilities.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mariana.
Madam Chair, if I may, I'm sorry.
Yes, Mr. Moreno.
Again, I know we're with reimagining schools and in education, obviously, and reimagining policing. Mr. Soto, I know one thing in reference to having a centralized police department. How can that benefit? Can you share with us and enlighten us how that can benefit us? I know we do have a substation on Mayfield, but we do lack one that is, I think, in the works in the Goliad southeast area of our communities or the outskirts of us, because that's SAISD. But how can that be used maybe as a adaptive kind of central location?
Yes, Mr. Moreno, as it being centrally located there at Rayburn, and our department has grown, rightfully so, because of the safety of our children is the utmost highest priority here at Harlandale ISD. But the police presence, as you know, does deter criminal activity.
And one more minute, if I may, ma'am. Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, of course, Mr. Moreno.
So does that mean that they would still have access to those police services when it comes to, maybe concerns, issues with some family members that are dealing with addiction, things of that nature that a normal police station would maybe address?
Our first priority is our children's safety, but you're correct. The chief can also provide a report that he sends to me on a quarterly basis on how he helps the community out on some of those situations, sir.
All right, perfect. Because I know a lot of times they'll come to us before they'll go to the actual police. And then we have to have our police departments get involved, and then we direct them and guide them through the right chains of commands.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Mariana.
Sure.
Madam Chair,
So,
real quick before
Yes,
we
Mr.
step to
Mencha.
the police department.
Yes,
Our police department, sir, works 24/7, right, sir? And we only have 25 officers,
Exactly. We have 3 different shifts, sir.
including weekends.
Yes, sir. 24/7.
A lot of the times, our community thinks that our officers only work 8 hours a day like everybody else. So just a friendly reminder that our officers do work 24/7, 7 days a week. And we only have 25 officers. So that's come, sometimes we don't see a lot of our patrols in a lot of our elementary schools. We have 21 campuses, sir.
We have 13 elementaries, 4 middle schools, and 4 high schools, and traditional, not including the Whittle Center.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted to touch on that basis that our officers are in high demand, and they do take care of our district very, very carefully.
thank you, Mr. Mencha. Ms. Mariana?
yes. So the original proposal with Morrill Elementary was to move central office to Morrill Elementary, because we do understand that this school has a very strong historic background. And so we know that it's the first school in Harlandale ISD, and so we wanted to keep that historical meaning by moving the central office to Morrill Elementary. The students would be transferred to Adams, Gilbert, or Wright. And so also within the central office, we would include the Professional Development Center. This school has the highest decline, and we know that it cannot house many students. Again, after listening to our town hall feedback, we do have another proposal for this later on. At central office, we would house the Harlandale Care Center. As you know, the Harlandale Care Center has offered multiple services as far as emotional and mental well-being for our community. We house many nonprofit organizations within the Harlandale Care Center that provide free services to our community. As of 2/27/23, they've had a total of 517 referrals. And already we have had to start a wait list 3 times. So it's very evident that this care center is needed within our community, and that their services need to continue growing. And so that's why the proposal was to move the Harlandale Care Center to central office. The Jewel Witzel Center, this is something that has been based on a TEA recommendation of best practice for many years now. And so our traditional, our students should not be in a school by themselves. And so we want to send them back to their home campuses. And then our hub students would be sent to our Frank Tejeda Academy. Again, to not leave empty buildings, we would like to create a makerspace museum at Joel Witzel Center, which would provide hands-on experience for our students within our district. As I'm sure you are aware, the San Antonio Museum is a wonderful place for all children to have hands-on experiences. And so we would like to provide that opportunity for our students so that they don't have to go all the way to the museum, but that they do have something very similar where they can learn and where they can interact here within Harlandale ISD.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Menchaca, go ahead.
Mr. Soto, can we explain a little bit what the HOPS program is? A lot of people don't understand what it means and how we help some of our students with special needs.
Definitely, sir. It's our special needs that are transitioning to real world. And so we train them to have some work skills. Some of them will be doing some internships at HEB, at Home Depot. And there at the Witzel Center, we actually have it laid out like there's some shelving so they can stock, they can know how to put tags on items. And so we teach them real world life lessons to be ready for the workforce.
Ms. Mariana, I do have a question. This makerspace, would it just be for elementary school students, middle school, high school? What would it
It would be
service?
for everybody.
Thank you, ma'am.
Again, as I mentioned before, after going through our town hall meetings, reading all of the comments, questions through the forms that we have been receiving, we do have an option B that we would like the board to consider. Again, this was all provided by the community and their feedback. So we are showing the facility usage study between Carol Bell and Vestal. This proposal shows instead of Vestal to go with Carol Bell. So the students at Carol Bell would be then transferred to either Vestal or Bel Air. And again, it would be the same proposal that we have for Vestal Elementary, but instead go with Carol Bell. So the CTE building would be housed at Carol Bell. This is something that our community really made us think about. So Carol Bell, where it is, it's in a more central position, as well as it has a lot of traffic around it. And so we believe it would be a safer location for our children to have the CTE building there. Now, Avance, as we talked about it earlier, right now it is housed at Vestal Elementary. So if we keep Avance at Vestal, we would not have to move. And then all of those resources that have already been spent at Vestal Elementary by Avance would not be going to waste. They would stay there. And so that's the proposal with Carol Bell Elementary. So instead of Vestal, to go with Carol Bell. Now also with Morrill Elementary, after reading the feedback, instead of moving central office to Morrill Elementary, we are proposing to moving the Harlandale Care Center as well as the SOSA Center. Both of them work very closely together, and the SOSA Center provides a lot of services for our community as well as the Harlandale Care Center, as I mentioned before. And so having them in a central location, again, a historic building, would make sense with this proposal. So a lot of the questions that we have been getting about transportation, are we still going to be able to provide transportation? And so we will, Harlandale ISD transportation protocols will be followed. So everybody that is eligible to receive transportation will continue to receive transportation. Special programs will continue to be offered at campuses. Special education units, that's another question that we have been receiving a lot. They will continue to be available with all of their necessary resources. And then another thing that we are exploring is SB 1882. We have begun exploring the possibility of partnering up with higher education institutions to create in-district charter schools here at Harlandale ISD.
Mr. Soto, on SB 1882, is that a different funding mechanism?
It is different, and Ms. Casey has been exploring that, and they will provide a little more funding per child if the board approves a partnership through SB 1882.
I have another question. In reference to special education students that are potentially being moved to other campuses, will we be able to provide transportation
Yes, by law.
by law? We must provide transportation for special education students.
Ms. Casey, not at all of them, but there is a certain group that will provide transportation. Ms. Casey?
That is correct. Transportation is considered a related service for any student that qualifies for special ed. So during the art meeting, if the art committee deems that it's necessary, then that is a service we provide.
Thank you.
Yesterday, again, at our town hall meeting, we got a lot of questions about pre-K 3 and 4. You heard it again tonight during the public comment. And so we are exploring this idea as well. We wanted to show the community how much it would cost the district to operate a class of pre-kindergarten. So payroll, teacher, and instructional aid would be about $90,200. Supplies and materials will be $4,500. Other expenses, $2,000. So it would be around a total of $96,700. However, as it was mentioned tonight in the community, we are exploring this because we do know that the investment that we would do for these pre-K students would stay with us for many years later to come. So this is something that we are definitely exploring.
Mr. Soto. Excuse me. Funding would be school district 100%?
On these pre-K 3, pre-K 4,
Yes.
these are for parents that can't qualify. And what the feedback is coming from the community is there's several of them that middle income, they make too much to qualify for the Harlandale pre-K, and they make too much money for the Avance pre-K. So these are the parents that are kind of right in the middle, and it's still costly for them to go take them to a daycare. And so Mr. Hernandez put this together and said, you know what, more or less, how much would it cost the district to absorb to create one class? And let's say it's a pre-K 3, a pre-K 4, several classes. It's just giving us a roundabout figure on what the investment would be. And as Ms. Mariana noted, and one of the community members saying is, if we end up getting 10 children in a pre-K 3 and they stay with us, well, we'll pay for the 100,000 when they're 3-year-olds, 100,000 when they're 4-year-olds. But hopefully when they're 5, they enroll in the kindergarten class in one of our schools. And so with looking at the basic allotment, eventually after the 3rd year, that money has come back to the school, and we've kept the child here at Harlandale ISD.
Mr. Soto, and the guidelines that are for this program are set by the federal government, state government? Do we set those guidelines
No,
that are
no,
that
no,
are
we don't.
keeping kids out of the pre-K program?
No, we don't.
Thank you.
So here are the primary reasons for HISD enhancements: maximizing our facilities and resources to provide multiple opportunities for our learners to reach their full potential; enhance programs for children and the community, as example, the CTE building, green spaces, wellness areas, and the Makerspace Museum; transformation of facilities, the Shea building into a multi-purpose gym; sustain and support our greatest resource, which is our people, our teachers, our drivers, custodians, support staff.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes,
Just
Mr.
to
Guerrero.
go back to the pre-K 3 and 4, because that's a fantastic idea that I'm sure Mr. Soto is gonna consider. But I know when we're leveraging the resources that we have, and then also leveraging the advocacy that we can for our communities. I know there was something on the ballot 2 years ago in regards to pre-K for SA, and as a solid program as it is, ultimately, that does impact us here. And so, when I considered certain things in terms of being educated on a vote, because it did pass and there was more money that the city provided to pre-K for SA, it was my humble opinion that it probably would have been beneficial for them to provide that to the school districts, help us so we can, continue to educate our kids. And that wasn't done. So just wanted to share that.
So as I'm sure you know, we have gotten a lot of questions about the staff and what's going to happen to them. So for teachers, counselors, nurses, social workers, MCLs, instructional and clerical paraprofessionals, Each professional staff member will be provided with a priority transfer list. Staff must include their first, second, and third campus of choice and grade level of choice for their priority transfer. This is for the teachers. All transfers will be based on certification and availability. Teachers with instructional paraprofessionals may choose to move together as a team. For the 23-24 school year, only priority campus personnel the campus is affected will be able to place their name on the transfer list, on the priority transfer list. If an employee chooses not to complete a priority transfer document, or if their choices are not available, they will be transferred based on student needs and certifications. Pay and days will not be affected unless the new position requires additional days, which would then lead to an additional pay. For our custodians and food service staff, transfers will be based on student needs. Pay and days will not be affected unless the new position requires additional days, which would then lead to additional pay. And for all of them, they will not need to interview. So just to recap everything that we have presented tonight and at the town halls this past week and last week. Our current finances, we have a 12 million deficit. Our enrollment has a decline of more than 25% since 2015. And so just to show kind of a visual, those spies, 2023, that's where we are right now. 25% of our students are gone. By year 2031, 50% of our students will be gone. And that's what that second visual is showing.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Mr. Soto, I know we want to enhance these experiences for our kids and merge our resources. I know obviously we have a great art program with Mr. Noe Garza over there at Columbia Heights. And I know we give autonomy to our principals. Can you explain kind of how the choices in terms, because we're limited in terms of fine arts and offering in the elementaries? How does that go about?
Correct, sir. At some of our elementaries, they had a choice. The principal will either choose to have art class or music class, right? And so with this consolidation, we're going to be able to send some art teachers to the music class, and then some music teachers that are in some of those elementaries go to an art class. So those children will be able to have the choice between music and art, just not one choice of music and or art.
So in essence, we are going to be able to enhance their educational experience by merging those resources and those supports. And that should be an interesting opportunity for our kiddos that don't get those luxuries at those other campuses.
Correct, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So again, to summarize, the proposal HISD enhancement plan, the repurposing of the 4 schools, that is school consolidation and refinement of facilities. We can also go with no repurposing any schools, or we could repurpose 3, 2, or 1, which would be our option C. And again, we want to make sure that the community understands this, that if nothing is done, we stay the same way that we are today. By next year, January 2024, again, the conversation will be very different. We will be having conversations about reducing staff and having layoffs. This just shows the timeline. We will have we have a board meeting coming up after spring break, which is March 20th here at STEM Early College High School. The next day after that, that Tuesday, March 21st, we will have a town hall meeting at Harlandale High School auditorium, very similar to what we did yesterday at McCollum High School. That one will be at 5:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mariana. Before you take a seat, any questions or comments for Ms. Mariana? On the board?
I have a question. Mr. Soto, but not for you, Mariana, I'm sorry. But Mr. Soto, I want to be clear about bond money. If the bond didn't pass, would we still be having this conversation? Let's just say people are saying, give the bond money back.
Great question, Ms. Ortiz. Again, the bond money cannot be used by law besides upgrading our facilities. If the bond wouldn't have passed 2022, basically, if we would do school consolidation, we would probably have empty schools because we would not have the money to retrofit these schools to hold the different programs. And so we would probably have empty schools as some of our neighboring school districts are about to do. Again, we're not going to compare ourselves to them because we are Harlandale. But the bond 22 would have failed. We would still be doing this because we would still be in a $12 million budget deficit. The 12 million did not come from any expenditures of bond.
And Mr. Soto, I just want to be clear, under no circumstances can bond money be used for teacher salaries, ADA, or anything that would be under, regrettably, the proposals that we're having to face right now. I want to make it clear. Let's be clear and transparent about what that bond money can be used for legally.
And there is a caveat, Ms. Ortiz. It's a great question, and we have been doing some of this. And I'm going to have Mr. Hernandez expound on how we are able to use some facility money that was from our general fund that maintenance and operations uses and substitute it with some facility money from bond.
Yes, sir. And so what Mr. Soto's alluding to is that we passed our maintenance tax notes but also in our bond referendum, we passed the bond refunding. So what that basically does is that when you have major replacements or repairs, that can be your maintenance tax monies can be used for that. So basically you're using your bond money. So what we would normally do is budget for those major repairs that have to be made. We saw within our budget of this year, 400,000, that we can move over and get covered in a sense with the bond money. So again, that helps towards our operations. We're continually going to be looking at that for the 23-24 year to see if there's any other types of expenses that are eligible and by law can be used with bond monies.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Moreno.
And if I may too, because I know this is something that is always important for us. It's always been focused on student outcomes and student achievements. But Mr. Soto, can you just elaborate on how one, the renovations to the stadium, how it impacts and supports our community in regards to Harlandale ISD and also our kids as a hub? And in addition to that, can you also elaborate? Because I know that was one thing that was a very, important to me in regards to the school board that was created there, was that it was going to be utilized and, implemented in terms of for our CTE kids and how they actually broadcast the things and the events for our community.
Great question, sir. And Mr. Hernandez, can you let us know what the funding was for that stadium project?
The amount of the bond issue was 9.5. The total amount of the stadium project was approximately 17.4 million. And so we had available resources from a prior settlement that the district had entered into. And so we used those monies in order to proceed, utilized our resources that were available. And for phase 1 and phase 2, the bond money completed our projects.
And so, Mr. Moreno, on that note, again, those funds that were spent at the stadium were majority from bond and maintenance tax notes. Dr. Hinojosa also writes maintenance tax notes were used in the stadium. And so the way the community rallied around for us to use that 9.5 million to upgrade our stadium was, as we remember, we had potholes. We would park in the grass, in the mud, and our children are able to use it for all the events, but we also have children in the film school that go out there from the McCollum and Harlandale teams. And there's the ones that run the television crews and during our events.
No, for sure, sir. And I appreciate that. So I'll echo that sentiment. And if I may, real quick, Madam Chair, one more minute.
Yes, of course, Mr.
The
Moreno.
exciting thing was I wasn't thinking about Friday Night Lights. What I was thinking about was when we have our Special Olympics with our kiddos there and then being able to see their faces crossing that finish line and different various events. To me, that was what I was thinking of. And I know a lot of my colleagues were very much on the same wavelength, but being able to have community events, being able to have health expos, being able to have family nights with movies, those are the things that I appreciate you guys putting together among other things that we can have there and we've had there in the past. So that's what I kind of wanted you to allude to, sir.
Any other questions or comments? I actually have a question, and I don't know if this is Mr. Soto or Mr. Hernandez. So hypothetically, no, let me correct myself. It's not hypothetically. Realistically, if the district does nothing, if we stay the course that we are on right now, if it's business as usual, as it has been during the last few years of student enrollment decline and the average daily attendance decline, because kids are not coming physically into our campus. If we make zero changes, if we leave tonight and everything stays as we have been conducting business up until now, what happens when we can't make payroll anymore? What happens when we're not $12 million in deficit, but we're $36.5 million in deficit? What happens when those children are counting on their breakfast and their lunch and their supper, because we now have supper meals for the students? What happens when we have to tell the state we are $36.5 million in deficit? What would the state do about a district that gives them that outcome?
I don't want to know the answer, ma'am, and I don't know the answer. Mr. Hernandez?
Am I to assume that the state will say, okay, keep it being in the red? Who's going to pay our teachers? If we are $36.5 million in the red, who's gonna pay our child nutrition, our paraprofessionals, our security, our maintenance? Who is going to take care of this district if we have to let the state know that now we're not $12 million in red, we're $36.5 million in red? What has happened to other districts?
So I believe that's really what you just last said was, what have we seen with other districts? And so we've seen the state step in before that district gets to that point. Because ultimately, a school district is a subdivision of the state. And so the state is going to be responsible for all the debt that the district has. And currently, because we get so much support from the state, our debt is about 230 million. But again, the district is responsible for basically between 45 to 50% of that, and the state is responsible for the rest. So if that were to occur, then that's going to be tapping into the state. And so as we've seen with other districts, they get our financial reports every year. They'll be monitoring our school districts. So before we even get to that point, we will see the state step in and take measures in order to make sure the district is solvent and it does serve the needs of the students.
In the past, when you have seen that this happens to other districts, when you refer to the state takes over, is it at times that the state takes over and consolidates one independent school district with another? Do they merge school districts together? Will Harlandale ISD still be standing as Harlandale ISD if the state takes over?
Again, as I've seen with other school districts, they merge them with another school district that's solvent in order to make sure that both of them would survive, and they would support them in that way.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Any other comments or questions? Thank you so much. So before we move on to agenda item 5, I think it would be wise for us to take a 10-minute recess and process what we have heard, seen, and gather our thoughts for the coming days and weeks before we have to make a decision. So right now it is 8:09. Let's take an 11-minute recess so we can come back at a round number. Okay, we are back a little longer than the time I addressed, but that's okay. We're back on track. It is 8:26. We are back from our short recess. And we are moving forward with agenda item 5. Mr. Mora, who's going to introduce? Mr. Hernandez, I'm so sorry.
No worries. Madam Chair, members of the board, and Mr. Soto. This item is regarding our interviews for accounting services. We went out for an RFQ for financial accounting services, in particular, the annual audit. We had 4 firms that responded. On your transmittal, the information's there, but what I've keyed up on each of your computers is basically the information that each firm submitted. So when you look at your PDF that's on your computer, I've placed it with the first audit firm that's going to be presenting. And to your left, you see the work session presentation. So that will give you the presentation that they will be covering. When we go to the next firm, same thing, you will click on the work session presentation or pull up the PowerPoint. So the 3 firms that respond, that are actually here this evening to do the interviews is ABIP, a partnership between Garza Gonzalez and Associates and Schreiber, Carmona and Company, and Patillo, Brown and Hill. The firm that elected not to be interviewed in person was the Jaramillo Accounting Group, but again, we still included the information that they submitted. What we have this evening is the first firm, and as you see on your screen, it's the partner's name is Michael Del Toro. And so he'll be doing the presentation. And as we did last time, we asked them to provide a 10-minute presentation and then 5 minutes for Q&A. After they finish their presentation as a professional courtesy, they'll excuse themselves and then we'll transition to the next firm to make the next presentation.
Mr. Hernandez, I have a question.
Yes.
Madam. So we have 3 printouts, but the 4th one chose not to present in person. But are we going to get the PDF of their, I know it's here, but.
Right, correct. So what
So-
you've got, and that's the other thing, you've got hard copies of what's being presented by the 3 firms that are actually here for the interview. The 4th firm, since they're not here, we don't have a hard copy for that. But when you scroll down, you'll see the information of Jaramillo. And so that will give you the background to that firm. So when you, go ahead.
Mr. Soto, can we get a hard copy of that 4th proposal?
Yes, I'll have Ms.
Thank
Patty
you.
email it to you. guys.
Thank you. No.
I'll have Ms.
I
Patty
would like
send it on
on
HH
HH, please.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hot off the press.
Okay,
So if we
Go
can,
ahead.
ma'am, then we'll have Mr. Del Toro come up and do his presentation.
thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. My name's Mike Del Toro. I'm an audit partner with ABIP. Brief presentation here just to present who we are and then obviously open it up for your questions. Brief background on our firm. We're a regional firm. We have offices in San Antonio and Houston. Our firm was established in 2001. ABIP was established in Houston. In 2012, a firm where I came from, Thompson Williams, Bidiger, Castor and Young, merged in with ABIP. That firm, Thompson Williams, had a 40-year history in the San Antonio area, servicing local governments and school districts. We are members of the AICPA peer review program and members of the Government Audit Quality Center, center created by the AICPA a number of years ago to assist firms conducting audits in the government arena to improve on the quality of those audits. Our firm provides a variety of services to a wide sector of industries, both in governments, not-for-profits, and privately held businesses. And our depth of services ranges from financial audits, which you're seeking, reviews. We do a number of employee benefit plan audits and then tax strategies for our clients. And services that go beyond just financial services. We do cybersecurity services and forensic accounting and auditing services as well. Our firm is roughly 100 employees. There's 30 in San Antonio, 70 in Houston. Our Houston office is a little bit larger. Our governmental team is stationed in San Antonio. Myself and Janet Pittman, my colleague, fellow partner, we're both based in San Antonio. Most of our governmental engagements are in the San Antonio region and in this part of the Texas area. And both she and I have been servicing this area combined for over 55 years of performing audits. And again, a lot of that history has been in with Texas school districts. Profiles of the people involved in our engagement team. Again, myself, I've got 25 plus years experience. Ms. Pittman has been with us, been servicing clients for over 30 years. And Jeremy Barbato, our senior audit manager, has been with us for really more than 12 years now. And again, all three of us service only local governments. Some experience that we have auditing Texas school districts. And again, you'll see it's a concentration in this area. Our largest is the Northeast Independent School District. We've been auditing them for the last 10 years. Judson ISD and Comal make up that kind of mid-sized districts that we audit, as well as San Marcos ISD and a number of smaller districts in the region, Medina, Lago Vista, and Ingram and Navarro. We've also throughout our careers have audited the service center at times when they go out for rotation. They rotate roughly every 5 years, and we've been involved in their rotations in the past. So again, wide range of sizes. Northeast is a very large district. And then obviously, you get into Ingram and Medina, those are much smaller in size. So our professional education, as I mentioned, Jan and I and Jeremy, we're all strictly involved in local governments. Our training, all our staff that we bring in, the associate level, we all receive training. We attend the Texas School District Accounting and Auditing Conference that's held annually in the state. And then we are, as members of the Government Audit Quality Center, there's a number of CPE requirements that we have to attend for that, as well as a range of CPEs that they provide. Because of the work that we do audit a lot of governments. We do have to get about 40 hours annually of CPE, and all of that is strictly centered on government-related courses. Why choose ABIP? Some things I've mentioned, we have a focus, obviously the partners in our staff, we're focused on school districts and local governments. The partners, both Jan and I are working partners. If we were awarded this engagement, you would see one or both of us out during the engagement, especially in the first years of the engagement, as we get a understanding of the operations and the personnel. With the partners, we promote some efficiencies there. We're able to deal with and tackle issues as they're coming up much quicker than if we just had staff out here working autonomously. We have a lot of resources available to us that kind of a mid-sized smaller firms may not have. Our cybersecurity specialists that we have, as well as various forensic and valuation specialists that we have on staff within the firm. Our culture as a firm is to assume that our clients are right until we can show otherwise through our research and presentations of any issues that may arise. And we've demonstrated through our experience and through servicing the clients in the area that we're committed to meeting the needs of your district. And we're obviously committed to the training and education of our team members to know how to audit and service local governments. And again, if we reached out to our references, hopefully you'll realize that we have excellent client retention and client services. And with that, I will conclude and take your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Toro. Any comments or questions for Mr. Del Toro?
If I may, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead,
I
Mr.
kind of
Moreno.
perused through everything there, sir. I do like that you've worked with Judson ISD, Northeast ISD. Not necessarily similar demographics to us, but I'm sure the finances. I know you mentioned about cybersecurity. I know Judson had a big issue with the cyber security breach. Did you guys, I mean, obviously you can't give me details, but if something like that happens, like how does your firm actually either collaborate, or how do you troubleshoot, or do y'all support that in any capacity, or that's IT?
That is IT. Now, one thing we do is we bring our security specialists in at the planning stage of the engagement to coordinate with them. And then obviously look for opportunities that may assist the district in shoring up their security needs. So.
So the three individuals that you mentioned with the resumes and the background, those would be our people working with us. if
Yes,
we
they
go
would
forward
be.
with
Yeah,
this group?
the three of us would be hands-on within the audit engagement. So,
Okay, and then you said you would be positioned here in
Yes.
San Antonio.
yes,
All right, thank you, sir.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. Anybody else?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Limon.
Mr. Thorough, on the list that you have on of schools, which one of those? I know you had said North, East, you had 10 years. Any other schools you've been there for a while?
Judson, we've had since about 2008.
Oh, 2008, okay.
Some of those smaller districts we've had in 2012, 2010. So,
So they did the rotation, the 5
Yeah.
the 3-year, 5-year rotation?
yes.
No, okay, thank you, sir, I appreciate it.
So, Mr. Del Toro, my question is very similar, and please forgive me if I'm just repeating what Ms. Limon said. So those listed here, those are those you are currently serving, or you're currently and or have in the past service?
The only one that is not a current client is the Education Service Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
All the
then,
rest of those are currently serving.
and those currently serving, have they been consecutive years of service to the district?
They have been, yes. There is a 5-year where they go out for RFP.
But your renewal
Yeah,
has
yes.
been,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, perfect. Thank you, Mr. Del Toro. Anybody else? Ms. Ortiz, you had a question?
I have a question. So besides the ones that are listed,
Mhm.
do you have any clients? What's the client that you have had for the longest period of time? And big or small?
Big or small? There's quite a few. Probably a city. We've had some cities since 2005, 2006. That's when I started with Thompson Williams.
I have one more question. Are y'all a designated minority-owned business?
We are not. We are a small business, but we are not a minority business.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Limon.
I was looking at this paperwork, not knowing that you have more and the computer, but you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You currently still employed. Are you going to be able to accommodate us since you have you're still serving these other school districts? 'Cause you
Yes,
have
ma'am.
1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, 5, 6 of them.
Yes, ma'am. We would be able to service you.
So you're
That
gonna be,
we have a scheduling process that we go through. We rely on some interim procedures during the summer months to alleviate the workload towards after the year end close. So we've managed to,
yeah, because I know everybody's in the same timeline,
yeah.
so
Eh,
it's like,
And it's not just the three of us. We do have staff people that we bring out as well. So it's a full team of about 10 of individuals that will be scheduled on to engagements. But Janet, Jeremy, and I, one of us, if not two of us, will be leading the staff in the engagement.
okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions for Mr. Del Toro? Bear with us. There might be a question or two. Yes, Mr. Luna, go ahead.
I'm a business major person. Why should we pick you instead of anyone else?
Why should you pick me? Well, like I said, we are actively involved in the engagements. I think our retentions with the clients in this region, we are located in your backyard, so to speak. We're in San Antonio. We're a pretty easy firm to get along with. I think our clients would tell you that. We're hard, but we're understanding too.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Del Toro.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I have a question. Mr. Hernandez or Mr. Soto? If any questions come up from the board with regards to these presentations, are we able to email them to Mr. Soto? And then if we can't find the answer in what's already been given to us, could you all provide us with those answers?
Yes, ma'am, and definitely will. Excuse me, we'll provide those answers
Thank you.
before next meeting on the 20th. So most likely you'll get them through an email during the spring break
Thank
to
you.
make sure you have enough time to look over the answers.
Our apologies. Go ahead, Mr. Hernandez.
Yeah, the next firm that we have presented and you have a hard copy of their presentation is the firm of partnership of Garza Gonzalez and Associates and Schreiber Carmona and Company. The representatives that are here this evening will provide their name and the firm that they represent.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
We're ready whenever you are.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Kim Lopez Gonzalez. I'm a partner with Garza Gonzalez and Associates. And also here is Chris Carmona, who is a co-founding partner of Schreiber Carmona and Company. We appreciate the opportunity and the invitation for inviting us here to present our response to the district's RFQ for audit services. As you know, Garza Gonzalez and Associates has served the district well over the years in performing the audit services. However, in response to the district's advice regarding tenure and affording the opportunity to others, we have taken the initiative to partner with Schreiber Carmona and Company, who is another knowledgeable and experienced local minority-owned firm. So we are here this evening not to share why Garza Gonzalez is qualified to perform the audit for the district, but to provide and share with you the enhanced combined firm's qualifications and experience, which will exhibit why Garza Gonzalez and Associates, in partnership with Schreiber Carmona and Company, should be selected to provide the financial audit services for the Harlandale Independent School District. And I'd like to turn it over now to Mr. Carmona so that he may continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. So first, I'll just, on this first slide, I'll just like to highlight a few things about the firm's combined experience or our profile. First thing to note here is that we have over 45 years providing quality audit, accounting, compliance, and other attestation services. The other thing we like to point out is that we primarily serve governmental and nonprofit entities within the area with extensive expertise performing single audits, which are your compliance audits. We have a combined team of over 31 professionals. This includes 5 partners, 3 managers, and 7 lead seniors. As Kim mentioned, we are a Shriver Carmona and Company in partnership with Garza Gonzalez and Associates. We have our business certifications through the South Central Texas Regional Certification Agencies, and you can see here the different certifications that we have. And combined with the regional certifications, we also are both hub certified with the state of Texas. Moving right along, I would just like to point out that on this slide, that most importantly, we are proficient in accounting and auditing standards, which is very key for both our firms that include federal, state, and local compliance requirements, as well as the uniform guidance. Specifically to that, our specific experience in performing financial and compliance audits include the following entities. We include San Antonio ISD, Pearsall ISD, the Texas State for the Texas School for the Deaf, the City of San Antonio, CPS Energy, Charlotte ISD, Parent Child Incorporated, Laredo ISD, San Antonio Water Systems, and Via Metropolitan. So as combined, this is the experience that we have specific to governmental and nonprofit entities, specifically compliance audits. What qualifies us is both firms are members of the AICPA peer review program, and both firms have received our latest peer review, a pass rating, which is the highest rating that you can receive, and we're fully compliant with our professional standards. We both have continuing, all of our members of our firms both exceed the governmental auditing standards as it relates to continuing education. We're both members of the AICPA Governmental Audit Quality Center. This is important because it enhances the requirements for us to meet the government audit quality standards in accordance with the AICPA. On the next slide here, we'd just like to point out as far as audit firm rotation, this is where will provide a lot of benefit in teaming up with and partnering with Garza Gonzalez and Shriver Carmona and Company, is that there are currently no national standards or regulations that require audit firm rotation. However, we're very mindful of the district's wishes and what you have brought to our attention. And by partnering with Garza Gonzalez and Associates, we will still have the expertise that they bring and their experience on this engagement. But including our firm, Shriver Carmona and Company, we bring a fresh look as it relates to the audit. So kind of a win-win there for both this district and the local firms participating. Over here, I won't go through each person, but this is our team, or at least our management team and high-level audit team. And these are our governmental audit CPE hours. Just want to provide that for you for context. Our audit approach is pretty simple. There's nothing that's really changed in terms of how we approach. We still take a risk-based approach for the audit, but we like to know here that we utilize always the latest technology and auditing tools that help automate what we do. We have ongoing interaction, communication, and collaboration with the management team of the district. You will have an audit manager and or audit senior that will be on site during the field work, and we will maximize the assistance of the district's accounting staff as needed. The one thing I would point out on the audit timeline is that this timeline does meet the summary. This plan summary does provide the ultimate goal, ultimately being that we complete the audit in a timely and efficient manner to meet the TEA deadline, which is November 27th, 2023. So this timeline here that we've mapped out meets that. In summary, I'd just like to highlight a few things. First being that both firms have a proven track record of professional quality and timely services. We're highly qualified firms with highly experienced auditors in the governmental accounting and auditing space, and a product of our excellent employee retention. The partnership with GG&A and SC&C maintains consistency while enhancing the expertise of audit team members and providing a fresh perspective to the audit. We're committed to the quality standards and supporting our clients, which means we are both available and will be available year-round to address technical questions. We're not just here to audit and then see you next year. We want to be a sounding board for you. We possess the experience, knowledge, skills, and resources to complete the required audit task and any additional services that the district may request. And due to the combined skills and experience level of GG&A and SC&C, we are able to offer discounted fees that are highly competitive and reasonable. So with that, I'd like to conclude our presentation and open it for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Carmona. Any questions? I have a couple. When did this partnership begin?
So the partnership is very specific to this engagement. We are also partners on a different governmental entity as well. And so we're being very strategic in these partnerships with the two firms.
So the partnership these two firms have is as a direct result to potentially service Harlandale?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I have another question. The list of those entities that are in your presentation, those are also, they've been merged. Some of them come from Garza Gonzalez and some of them come from Shriver Carbona?
That is correct. Yes. So the list on page 2 of the clients? Yes, correct.
My third question. How many other times has there been this partnership with regards to servicing a school district?
Us specifically with Garza Gonzalez, this is the first time that we are partnering. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Carmona.
My pleasure.
Any
Thank you.
questions or comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Madam Chair, the
Yes,
next
Mr.
firm
Hernandez, yes.
to present will be Patillo and Brown in Hill. The representatives will be approaching the podium and they'll be walking us through their presentation. I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves as they come to the podium.
Hello, do you, yes,
Okay.
thank you. That way we
Okay,
can all hear.
he told me not to turn it on, but that's only if we're going back and forth, so I apologize.
Yes,
I'd like to introduce myself. My name is John Manning and I'm a partner with Patillo Brown and Hill, and with me is Kent Willis, audit manager at Patillo Brown and Hill as well. And we're here just to kind of give you a brief background of our firm and give you some of our highlights and just some of the reasons why we think that Patillo Brown and Hill would be a very good fit for Harlandale ISD. We're actually celebrating our 100th anniversary this year. Founded in 1923. We have 5 locations. Predominantly, our largest office is Waco, Texas, which is where this audit would be serviced from. Currently, we have 16 partners and over 130 professionals that are capable of handling the engagement for Harlandale ISD. We're a member of the AICPA G400, meaning based on revenues. We're one of the 500 largest firms in the country, which that sounds pretty good, but when you consider there's 45,000 firms in the country, that's saying something. We're also members of the GAQC, which in order to perform an audit for a Texas school district, you have to be a member of that group. It's a voluntary group, and we are members of that. We're also members of GFOA and committees. Our firm is a full service firm. I know that not only do we just get involved with audit parts for the district, we also get questions periodically on things like payroll. How do we fill out 1099s? How do we do this? Well, we have a full service firm at Patillo Brown and Hill. We actually have our audit division, which is divided into three different parts. So when we're doing the audit for Harlandale ISD, you won't have somebody that's a bank expert. You'll only have somebody that does governments. We also have an employee benefit administration end of our business. We have business consulting, and we also have a full-fledged tax department as well. This will be your audit team. Myself would be the engagement partner. And as part of our commitment to audit quality, we're also required, self-imposed, of course, to have a concurring partner review. So what happens is Kent and I will be responsible for getting your audit report and that type of stuff put together. And then Paula Lau would also take that report and review it independently and make sure that it meets the quality objectives of our firm. And Kent obviously is the audit manager, and then we have an IT specialist that's in Waco as well.
Thanks, John. So John's kind of introduced our firm as a whole and kind of what you can expect to get out of Patillo, but we wanted to talk, or I want to talk a little bit about the professionals who would be staffing your audit. So what you see on the screen here is really all about government audit at Patillo. And that is a group of people from which your audit team would be selected. And all they do exclusively is audits of school districts, cities, and counties. So you're not going to be, your audit team will not be staffed by somebody who doesn't know what a general fund is, what Fund 199 is. Our staff will know school districts quite well and will be well versed in school districts. So our numbers in our department range from 25 to 40, depending on the time of year. We have 5 partners. One of those is actually in our Albuquerque office. And they have over 85 years of experience in audits of local governments. John in particular has only done government audits his entire career. So well-versed in local governments and school districts. Talking through some of our credentials, we have 6 or 7 members on the GFOA Special Review Committee. That's a voluntary committee where we review outside of busy season, we look at more at annual financial reports and stay well-versed in the GFOA requirements and the rules. So voluntary, but it helps us stay sharp on the rules that our clients need to follow. We have 6 members who also volunteered to take on the AICP Advanced Single Audit Certificate. Again, voluntary, but what that does is allow us to stay abreast of upcoming single audit rules. You guys have a single audit every single year. And so we're abreast of the rules that are changing and have 6 members, including John and myself, who have that certificate. We get our required CPE. I'm not going to go through a lot of details about CPE, but of course we have the required CPE for government audit. And then finally, just kind of a little bit about our firm there. We have a list of the types of entities we do. We do over 100 audits of local governments in Texas. That's purely out of Waco. 60 plus of those are single audits, 40 plus are the annual comprehensive financial report. And so we actually are number 2 in the state of Texas for audits of school districts. I'm not sure if you guys were aware of that. There are over 100 firms, I believe, that do audits of school districts in Texas, and we do the second most number of those. And that's not about quantity for us. We give the same level of quality and the same level of services for every single one of those school districts. So just because we do a lot of them doesn't mean we're going to rush through your audit and try to get it done quickly. You're going to get the same level of services that all of our clients get. Let's talk about our process for a moment. That's a lot about our firm. You know who you're dealing with, you know who your audit team is. The process on the screen is probably similar to what you're used to. We kind of break it up into what we call 2 different phases. We have planning and field work. Planning is a time frame where we're going to come out and take a look at your internal controls. That's a preliminary part of the audit. And then we move into field work where we're drafting the deliverables and finishing up the audit. So that's a familiar process. I'm sure I won't dwell on that a whole bunch. But that is the time frame of an audit for Patillo Brown and Hill. We like to make the audit as easy as we can for you guys. It's an audit. Nobody likes being audited. It's probably not a lot of fun, but we're going to try to make it as easy as we can on the audit staff. So what we like to offer are as many meetings as you like, your staff would like. I know meeting is a curse word for a lot of us. We have a lot of meetings on our calendar, but our idea is we want to be in touch with you guys. We want to be here for finance and for the board as often as you guys need us. So we're here for weekly status meetings, for planning meetings, and for wrap-up meetings throughout the whole process. A little bit more about our firm. On the screen, you'll see a bunch of jargon, a bunch of technology that we use. We use accounting and auditing software that's used by firms a lot smaller than us and firms a lot larger than us. So we're using industry standard technology. And some of that technology includes an online portal for your staff to provide us information both securely and quickly. So we make that available to you and to your staff to use. And our staff have been really appreciative of that software. It's called Engagement Organizer. It's the second from the last there. But it allows us to interface with the client and receive documents very securely and quickly. So it's a great system and our clients really like it. So to close out, I'm going to let John kind of close out, but I do want to emphasize the 3 words that you see on the screen there about Patillo Brown Hill. The quality that you're going to get with the folks that come to your campuses and to your district to do the work can't be surpassed. All we do is audits of local governments. So our staff is quality. And as far as value, I think we cover that as well. I think you'll find our price will be competitive. And we would really love the opportunity to work with your firm. So I'm going to transition to John here for a moment and let him close out. But thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And hopefully you can see that Patillo Brown and Hill would be a good fit for Edgewood. You can see that we're qualified. You can tell by us being here that we want to be a part of a working relationship with Edgewood ISD. As Kent mentioned earlier, I think if you call our references and talk to our clients that we have listed, you will see that we're professional, easy to work with, and we make the audit process as easy as possible. I really think that the people that are involved in the audit, if you could talk to our clients that we have listed there, we'll talk about the ease of Engagement Organizer. And for those of you that haven't been involved with an audit, the amount of information that we ask for is voluminous. And Engagement Organizer makes that process a lot easier, and we've had a lot of positive feedback. So for the board, I know you guys have had a big meeting. We really appreciate you letting us come and talk to you. And if you have questions for us, we would be glad to entertain those now. And thank you all very much for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Go ahead, Mr. Ortiz.
Are y'all a certified minority-owned business?
We are not.
Okay. And then big or small?
I would
What
say
is the longest period of time that y'all have served a school district?
School district, probably 15 years.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions? All right,
Ju-
go ahead, Mr. Moreno. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I know it's been a long meeting for us and I'm sure perhaps for you guys as well. So just wanted to get correct. Mr. Manning, did you say Edgewood by mistake?
I did.
Okay.
I'm in Harlandale. I apologize.
Yes, thank you.
I actually do. I have a question. So I'm looking at the sample of governmental experience that you have. Is Edgewood ISD, are you currently servicing Edgewood ISD? Is that the only school district in San Antonio that you're servicing?
We have Shirt Cibolo and
The Service Center. And then down the road, New Braunfels ISD, we work with those guys.
And we do Victoria ISD, which is not San Antonio, but it's not too far from here.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Any comments or questions? Mr. Luna? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you all very
Thank you.
much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting for it.
Okay, so moving on to agenda item 6, Ms. Casey.
Yes, Madam Chair and Board. We are asking for approval for a data dashboard for Decision K-12 Performance Management License. And what this data dashboard will do is it will get all the data from every program that we use, and we can manage it off this data dashboard. The initial cost is $168,625. And thereafter, that's the setup. Thereafter, it's $35,500 a year. The initial cost will be covered by a T-class data fellow grant that we have. If we don't use that money we will lose. And then the ongoing expense of $35,000 will be paid off curriculum and instruction initiative funds.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. Any comments or questions for Ms. Casey? Ms. Casey, I have a question. You said, tell me again about the money. If we don't use that money, tell me again.
If we don't use the money, once the grant ends, the money we no longer have access to.
So we
And-
either use it or we lose it.
Yes.
Okay.
And one of the goals of the Data Fellow T-Class grant is to develop a dashboard. So we have Mr. Littlefield and Mr. Norberto Gonzalez that serve as our data fellows. And they've explored options of building out the dashboard, the two of them, or actually buying one. And this is probably the most feasible since they still have their jobs. Some districts opted to hire an individual person for that. We did supplemental stipend and supplemental responsibilities.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. Yes, Mr. Luna.
Mr. Soto, what are these management licenses for? They're for what programs? What are the management licenses for? The technology or?
So the management
Sites.
system, it's actually going to be administrators that will have access. That's the licenses that we're paying for. And they'll have access to all of the data components. So we have Eduphoria, we have M-Class, we have Amplify, everything that you hear our people present every month. So basically, this dashboard will collect all of that data and it'll be available in one spot rather than being us pulling it from every single. And all of our administrators will have access to that.
All right, that's what I was thinking it was for, but let's make sure. Thank you.
Efficiency and effectiveness. Is that correct, Ms. Casey? Thank you. Anybody else with comments or questions for Ms. Casey? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Moving on to agenda item 7. Is that Ms. Gallegos?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Mr. Soto and Cabinet, and everyone else that's here. I hope y'all are doing well. Yes, it has been a very long night. We are currently seeking approval to enter an interlocal agreement with Earn a Bike. We've been part of Earn a Bike with our after-school program for the last 2 years. They are a nonprofit organization here in San Antonio, and they provide bike curriculum, helmets, building of our bikes. So this will serve our 13 elementary campuses that are all participants of our ACE and our LEAP campus. And they will be providing 145 bikes for our students to build, learn, and ride around the Harlandale area. Do y'all have any questions?
Question?
Sure.
Go ahead, Mr.
I
Luna.
was in there, I last year, fortunately, I stumbled into this event. I was at another event and it was a cold day. I got some pictures with all the kids and bikes. I was under the impression that it was, the man that was the main sponsor I saw that was there was like, they had donated everything to the schools and so where's this expense coming from there?
The expense is covered. The total amount is $56,715. We use City of San Antonio funds. We get those funds from the City of San Antonio every year. So that's where the funding comes from to purchase and pay for not only all the curriculum and the bikes, but also for them to come once a week for an hour to meet with all the students. So they have all of their staff. So that pays for their staffing to come to all 13 campuses once a week to provide all of this curriculum for our students.
So that happens post event or before the event? When they give out the bikes, and they assemble the bikes as well. too,
Oh,
right?
they're going to assemble the bikes on, and I have that date, April 15th, 2023, because our goal is for the students to be able to ride it for the Cultural Arts Fair.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Ms. Limon?
Yes, Madam Chair. And you said 14 schools are going to be participating. How many? will
13.
be? I'm sorry.
13 elementary campuses.
13, oh, okay,
Mhm.
yes, 13. 145 bikes, is that
Yes.
correct? So will it be, first grade, second grade? Who's gonna be?
It's going to be about third grade. So we have a couple of fourth graders. I have the breakdown and I can share that with Mr. Hernandez tomorrow. That way he can go out in the H&H. But for example, because Adams is our biggest EDP campus, they're going to have 15 students participate in the building of the bikes, all the curriculum and so forth. And then our smallest campus actually is just 10 students. And we have like Wright, Vestal that are smaller populated. Yeah, so we kind of mirrored up like third grade level, how many students are going to be receiving the bikes.
Thank you. Mhm.
Ms. Gallegos, so this amount, the 56,750 is not coming out of Harlandale Fund.
No, this is
It is
coming out of-
directly coming from the city of San Antonio, a grant.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not costing the district anything.
Oh, no, no.
And only those that participate in the program
Mhm.
can earn a bike.
Yes, it's a 12-week program for our students and they love it.
How many times have we provided this?
This will be our third year.
And it's not just the students engaging in the 12-week process, it is also
The
the
parents.
family engagement.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
We do a big old, parent engagement opportunity where they come and they assist their student actually construct the bike itself. And they also get taught, the parents get pulled aside and they get taught bike skills. The students are given a helmet. So there's a whole curriculum based around just bike safety and awareness.
Thank you, Ms. Gallegos. Any other questions or comments?
I just have a couple.
Yes,
April
Ms.
15th, where?
It's going to be at the Harvey E. Najim Family YMCA. It's going to be on Roosevelt. From 9 to 3.
My last question is, how many bikes were earned last year?
140.
140, and
Yes.
this year?
145.
145. Thank you.
Yeah, we're moving it.
Anybody else? Thank you, Ms. Gallegos.
Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
You too. Moving on to agenda item 8, is that Dr. Hinojosa?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, this particular item that'll be for review and for vote on Monday is in regards to archaeological study and material testing at Memorial Stadium. So as you know, when we've done the different phases of the projects, we have to go with, we go with Rob Kistner, who was approved by the board to perform these duties. And as you know, because of the site and the location and the historical ramifications within the site, this is a requirement through the Texas Historical Commission. They're now ready to move to that next phase, which is the material testing and where the locker room structure and the press box are going. And so on Monday, we'll be asking for approval of the 81,125, which is an estimated approximate cost from their proposal. And that those funds will come from the settlement fund that's designated for the facility assessment, also the bond 2022 funds.
Thank you, Dr. Hinojosa. Any questions for Dr. Hinojosa? I have a question. Are we on the timeline? Are we still right on point?
Yes, ma'am. Everything is still on schedule.
Perfect, thank you. I guess no more questions for you, Dr. Hinojosa, on this particular agenda item. Oh, I'm sorry, I spoke too soon. Mr. Luna?
I'm sorry, who is, Robert Kishner, did the same one that did last time?
Yes, sir. Robert Kistner is the one that they're on call for this type of service. So they did the east side and also the west side parking lots.
But this is from our side, right? But doesn't Historical Commission have their people as well?
I'm sorry, sir.
Doesn't the state have their people?
Oh,
Historical
yeah,
Society?
they report back. The Texas Historical Commission has their individuals too, but they use the data and information that Robert Kistner provides them.
So it's like a mutual agreement that their findings will be suffice for the state.
Yes, sir. So any findings, they will do the archaeological study and they'll provide that information to the Historical Commission.
Yeah, like last year I was fortunate to be at a tour guide meeting and they were the state was presenting to the tour guides what was going on here.
Right, yes.
And that's, I told Mr. Soto, I said, I know this is going on. Investigation, and it came out great that they didn't find anything, right? Correct?
No, yes, sir. That's correct. They didn't find anything.
All right, thank you so much.
Mr. Mancha, did you have a question? Anybody else? Thank you, Dr. Hinojosa. Moving on to agenda item 10, that's you again, Dr. Hinojosa?
Yes, Madam Chair. Actually, on item 9, the
So sorry. Yes. Go ahead.
so item 9, this particular will go for board approval on Monday. It is actually on the January 17th board meeting. We had presented the information regarding the use of the maintenance tax notes to make the renovations on of the actual bleachers to make sure that we address the outdated ADA requirements. So the ADA requirements when the stadium was built have changed. And so part of that request that was approved on the 17th of January was to be able to add that scope of work. But by doing so, of using that maintenance tax notes, the initial contract with Marksman was at $17.2 million, but with the addition of that change order of that scope of work, their contracted amount now is $17.4 million. And so basically those funds is still from the stadium bond 2022 proceeds and the addition of the maintenance tax note. But because it's an amendment to their contract that we had originally approved last fall, we would need to request the board approval for that added amount. So that's this particular item.
Any questions for Dr. Hinojosa? Dr. Hinojosa, I just want to have, just for clarification
Yes, ma'am.
purposes, it's not for Monday's meeting, it's for the meeting on March 20th.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Or will you be working during spring break? Dr.
I
Hinojosa?
will work a couple of days during spring break. Yes, ma'am. My apologies.
Not everybody's off on spring break, right?
We will be here for a few days.
So this will be for the board approval, potential approval on
The 20th.
March 20th,
20th.
regular board meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Luna, go ahead.
I
sir.
just had a question. Has the district investigated grants or funds for ADA? Is there such animals out there that we could apply for? Because we have to agree, we have to make the stadium ADA compatible, correct?
Yes, sir. We have to upgrade it. We can certainly look at that. We haven't looked into that, but we certainly can. Yes. sir.
All
That's
right,
a great
thank
point.
you.
Anybody else with questions for Dr. Hinojosa? Okay, now we're on agenda item 10, correct, Dr. Hinojosa?
Yes, ma'am. And so one thing that we will ask for board approval at the board meeting on the 20th of March will be this particular item is in reference to PLGY. So PLGY was approved back in December at the December 12th board meeting to perform the services for the community needs that were part of the general facilities bond 2022. So we have met with them. They have attended one of the steering committee meetings, met with community members that are a part of that. And so they're ready to move forward in terms of the design phase. So what this request will be is to approve their estimated cost of $50,000, a fee agreement, so that we can finalize and move towards finalizing and present to the school board the priority list from the steering committee. So this particular item, again, is from BLGY, but it's a fee assessment proposal for the work that will be needed to present that information.
Questions for Dr. Hinojosa? I have a question. So this $50,000 is so that they can give us a presentation of those needs assessment?
Yes, yes, in a way.
It's their fee for them to,
It's a fee for them to put together the design phase and to move forward with the recommendations that have been coming up to the steering committee. So that way they can actually apply the cost estimates to it and have the individuals that work for them to come on site and actually perform the information, the studies that they need to be able to provide that for us.
thank you, Dr. Hinojosa. I appreciate that clarification. Thank you.
Madam
ma'am.
Chair.
Yes, Ms. Limon.
So we're gonna, Dr. Hinojosa, we're gonna get a list of that steering committee? I have not seen anything on what they're asking for or anything like that.
So we haven't finalized, man, that's a great question, but if you're asking about the actual list of priorities, so we're still working on that and finalizing that. And so we did have that discussion with BLGY. So the plan that we have on schedule, we can definitely give that scheduled out for the rest of spring to Mr. Soto. We'll put it on HH. But the plan is later on in the spring to have that finalized so we can present that information to the board.
Mr. Luna?
Yeah, similar things. Depending on our vote, might change some of those recommendations, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right,
That's
so
a good
you'll know
point.
more after the vote.
Yes, sir. That's a great point.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Mancha.
Tony, let me know if I'm going way off topic, but it has to do with all of this, at least in my eyes. Have we contacted, either the city or the state on putting a light here? Since we're talking about the stadium and the parking and the needs, have we thought about contacting the state or the city about putting a light here on the exit here for the stadium and a crosswalk?
Mr. Mancha, you're talking about a traffic light?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Am I able to answer that question, sir? Okay, you're right. Yeah, so the one thing that we have, so to specifically answer your question, we have not met with them, but we certainly can. Apollo, which runs right here, parallel to STEM, that is considered a city street. And so we have had, when we were doing the renovations on the parking lot on the west side here on the home side, we did have to confer with the city to be able to see what lighting we were gonna need. I don't recall us talking about it to this far, to an extension past them, because everything stopped at the parking lot, but we can certainly visit with the city and the city team that works with us to look at what kind of recommendations they would make. Yes, sir.
Mr. Soto?
Madam Chair, Dr. Hinojosa, the city usually makes us pay for those lightings, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just an FY, but we have money, if we have bond money, because it is for safety, and we can present that to the community, because I believe we were looking at some lighting at right there on Formosa and
In Pleasanton.
and I think the lighting were running between 35 and 50,000 that they were gonna charge us.
Any other questions on agenda item 10 for Dr. Hinojosa? Thank you, Dr. Hinojosa.
All right, thank you all very much.
Okay. Agenda item 11. Do I have a motion to adjourn
Madam
tonight's
Chair,
meeting?
real quick
Yes,
before.
oh, yes.
before,
Go ahead, Mr. Mancha.
I know, sir, that if we do a research study, we did it at Adams. And if we do a research study, that the city will be obligated to give us the lights. Because we did that at Adams Elementary School when they wouldn't put us a turning light on the South Cross and Pleasanton Road. What I did was I stood out there with a camera and I filmed how much traffic was getting congested just because of that we didn't have a turning light, and presented it to our city council, and our city council was able to approve it. And the city ended up paying for it instead of coming out of district funds.
Thank you for that information. Officer Valdez usually is the one that works with the city from our PD department. So I have Dr. Hinojosa reach out to Officer Valdez, Sergeant Valdez, and conduct a traffic assessment, and hopefully they fit the bill. Thank you for the information.
No apologies, Mr. Mancha. No apologies. Thank you for that information. So is there a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Ortiz.
I motion to adjourn.
Is there a
Second,
Mr. Luna, is there a second?
second.
Thank you, Mr. Luna. So I will take the vote to adjourn tonight's meeting. Mr. Luna, yea or nay?
Yay.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moreno, yea or nay?
Yay, ma'am.
Mr. Mancha, yea or nay? Ms. Limon, yea or nay?
Yay.
Ms. Ortiz, yea or nay?
Yay.
And myself, yay. It is 9:25. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for your patience.
Yay.